Chapter 866. Half a year later, Lu Kuan returned to Demon Spirit Island. Before returning to the island, he met with Pan Yin from Warrior Saint City. He knew that Xiao Hongfei and Lu Xiao were in closed-door cultivation, while Qin Yushu was in Abyss Island's treasure pavilion. What surprised him was that Sher Chao had also entered the bone treasure stage. She seemed to have used a special method. Other than Pan Yin, all the first-generation disciples had gone to Sacred Poison Sect. Zhao Qingtian wanted to control Sacred Poison Sect in one go. Lu Kuan did not intend to interfere. Sacred Poison Sect only had 5 core formation cultivators left. Only one of them was in the intermediate core formation stage. With the restraint of body cultivators against poison cultivators, he did not have to worry about anything. During this period of time, other than purchasing materials, he also had a good experience of the new chaotic magic power. Other than the different attributes of lightning magic power, the chaotic magic power produced a white light film that had great resistance to all 5 elements magic. Its defensive power was stronger than the previous defensive thunder barrier. Although the chaotic magic power was at the great circle of the core formation stage, the consumption of the bone treasure in the mature stage was even greater. Perhaps only nascent soul stage spiritual power could activate more than 200 bone treasures. After the bone treasure reached the large success stage, Lu Kuan's physical strength directly reached 400,000 Jin. If he used the Linking Arms Divine ability, it would increase by 50%, reaching the terrifying level of 600,000 Jin. With the great circle of the core formation stage, he could launch about 90 attacks. Unfortunately, without the origin strength of the physical body, unless he stood on the broken dragonstone, he could not display that astonishing brute force. After reaching the large success stage of the bone treasure, the power of his divine sense had increased again. The range of his divine sense had almost reached 30 miles. He was probably not much different from an early nascent soul stage cultivator. At this time, if Lu Kuan fought with Ba Yongkai again, they would at least be evenly matched. The bone treasure in the mature stage, even without the support of spiritual power, could completely withstand Ba Yongkai's attacks without being injured. However, facing the power of a nascent soul stage cultivator, he could not display his full strength. But if Lu Kuan had the origin strength of the physical body, he could unleash 600,000 Jin of strength in midair. Ba Yongkai would definitely not be his opponent. Lu Kuan had returned this time to prepare for a breakthrough in his physical body's origin power. He flew to the sky above the 8th Spirit Valley and took out several sound-transmitting talismans. He whispered a few words and then tossed them out to greet Xiao Hongfei, who was in seclusion. After entering the cave, Lu Kuan took out materials one by one and arranged a rather complicated array in the practice room. The runes on it were very different from the ones in the immortal cultivation world. They seemed to be some kind of ancient language. According to my deductions, the conditions for the formation of the physical body source energy are, first, the physical body has become a whole, and second, the physical body has a physical existence. If you use the method of refining, then when the physical body becomes a whole, it will turn into a pile of refining materials, and it will be impossible to generate origin energy. Lu Kuan carved the Dharma array. At the same time, he took out devil stones and embedded them. His eyes flashed with an inexplicable look. If refining doesn't work, then there's only one last way, and that's to rely on qi and demonic energy. This Dharma array was the origin array of the cloudy body tempering art that he had obtained from his bloodline memories. It was originally modified from the demon race's Enlightenment Dharma array. After being modified by Hong Yuntong, it became the origin of the cloudy body tempering art. Without it, it would be impossible to generate qi and demonic energy. When Hong Yuntong used the cloudy body tempering art to break through to the core formation stage, his body's qi and demonic energy swallowed him and he died. Hong Yuntian cultivated the demonic zombie body tempering art. When he finally broke through to the nascent soul stage, his qi and demonic energy swallowed his entire body and turned him into a pool of liquid. Both of them failed because the qi and demonic energy swallowed their bodies. Lu Kuan's eyes revealed a bit of pride. But I, Lu Kuan, am different. Even a nascent soul stage cultivator can't do anything to a mature skeleton, let alone a mere qi and demonic energy. In the end, Hong Yuntian relied on the demonic zombie subbody to produce the physical body source energy. I, Lu Kuan, only need to rely on the physical body of the bone treasure. I don't need to rely on external objects at all. Lu Kuan quickly finished setting up this rather complicated spell formation according to his memories. Back then, Hong Yuntong had to use a blood sacrifice to replenish his own qi and demonic energy. But Lu Kuan's qi and demonic energy were incomparably vigorous. He didn't need a blood sacrifice at all. In order to prevent the demonic energy from clashing with the qi and demonic energy, he had exhausted all of his demonic energy on the way back. Lu Kuan sat cross-legged in the center of the spell formation and took a deep breath. The power of his consciousness circulated in his meridians and the spell formation in a unique way. The spell formation around him gradually lit up with a black light. The demonic qi within the demonic stone followed the patterns of the spell formation and slowly entered his body, surging towards his empty meridians. The cloudy body tempering art was the same as ordinary demonic Dao cultivation methods. It circulated demonic energy in the meridians. Lu Kuan slightly stirred his blood. The rich qi and demonic energy entered his meridians. Almost in the blink of an eye, an extremely weak demonic energy that exuded an extremely greedy demonic energy appeared in his meridians. This demonic energy seemed to have sensed the enormous qi and demonic energy within Lu Kuan's body. It was somewhat fearful, but also exuded an extreme desire. Lu Kuan sensed this demonic energy, and the corners of his mouth curved into a cold smile. He adjusted the spell formation beneath him, changing it into a spell formation that condensed demonic energy. At the same time, he placed a dozen demonic stones within it. Then, he formed a hand seal and began to cultivate according to the cloudy body tempering art. His blood surged, automatically sending the enormous qi and demonic energy into his meridians. That strand of demonic energy immediately madly devoured the demonic energy and demonic energy, rapidly growing. In his bloodline memories, Lu Kuan witnessed Hong Yuntong's demonic energy surge from the early foundation establishment stage to the core formation stage after devouring the little ape's body. He understood the nature of this demonic energy very well. As long as there was no shortage of demonic energy and demonic energy, it could continue to grow. With Lu Kuan's current physical body, just the essence of his blood alone was enough to make the demonic energy vomit. The demonic energy in the gaseous state in his meridians rapidly grew. In less than a day, it directly turned into a liquid state and entered the foundation establishment stage. It was as if the bottleneck of the foundation establishment stage didn't exist. At this time, Lu Kuan's blood essence had only consumed a small portion. Lu Kuan wasn't surprised at all and continued to cultivate. Early foundation establishment stage. Middle foundation establishment stage. Late foundation establishment stage. A huge demonic energy vortex reverberated around his body. Under the infusion of a terrifying amount of demonic energy, a dark red golden core exuding a rich aura of demonic energy floated in Lu Kuan's dantian. Due to Hong Yuntong's insufficient demonic energy, he had to rely on the pure demonic energy of the true demonic pool to break through. Lu Kuan's demonic energy was as boundless as a river, and his demonic energy easily condensed into a golden core. At this moment, Lu Kuan's face was slightly pale. He had also consumed a small portion of the high-density blood he had obtained from cultivating the demonic bloodbone refining art. The demonic core of qi and blood sensed Lu Kuan's still surging body and sent out waves of desire. Lu Kuan did not stop and continued to operate. The qi and blood magic core hungrily absorbed the essence of his blood. At the same time, a large number of magic stones were consumed. After 3 days and 3 nights, the demonic core of qi and blood had grown slightly larger. A strange dark red luster was flashing on its surface, and it was exuding the aura of a middle-stage core formation cultivator, as well as an astonishing amount of qi and blood. Lu Kuan's face was deathly pale at this moment. The essence of his blood had been completely consumed by the demonic qi in his blood. He didn't know if it was a coincidence, but the level of the demonic qi in his blood was exactly the same as the demonic qi in his blood that he had cultivated before. They were both at the middle core formation stage. Could it be because of the 9-star physique? He raised his eyebrows and formed a hand seal. The demonic qi in his blood churned, and a terrifying amount of qi and blood reappeared in his blood. His face became ruddy again, as if he had not cultivated the demonic qi in his blood. Lu Kuan's blood essence had formed a symbiotic relationship with the demonic core of qi and blood. Without the blood essence, the demonic qi in his blood would not reach the level of a middle-stage core formation cultivator. And Lu Kuan's blood needed the support of the demonic qi in his blood to recover to its peak state. Very good. Although the demonic qi in my blood is incomparably evil and greedy, it completely listens to my command. It's like magic power when I control it. In Lu Kuan's memory, the cloudy body tempering mantra could only be cultivated for cultivators below the core formation stage. After all, Hong Yuntong had already died when he had condensed the demonic qi in his blood. However, Lu Kuan already had his own method of cultivating from then on. He revealed a trace of ruthlessness. A crack appeared on the demonic qi in his dantian, and violent demonic qi fluctuations appeared in his body. Shatter the core. The demonic qi in the middle stage, core formation stage, surged out. Because there was not enough energy, it could not transform into a nascent soul. Lu Kuan was already prepared. He controlled his blood and used the blood demonic qi in his blood to attract the evil demonic qi that had lost its host space. The demonic qi in his blood immediately found its host and rushed madly into his blood. As expected, my demonic qi in my blood is different from Hong Yuntong's. It only relies on the essence of blood to grow. Therefore, when the golden core shatters, in addition to the cultivation experience of the blood demonic qi, it smoothly entered my blood. Although he had deduced it many times before, he still breathed a sigh of relief when it really succeeded. Only when the demonic qi in his blood truly merged with his blood could he proceed to the next step. Lu Kuan's forehead was covered in sweat. The risk of this step was under his control. Even if the demonic qi in his blood dissipated along with the golden core shattering, he would only lose the essence of his blood. Through magic power, his bone marrow could regenerate blood. At most, he would be able to make up for the blood essence in a year. Lu Kuan calmed down his nervous emotions and familiarized himself with the demonic qi in his blood. He found that the demonic qi's nature had not changed at all. Then his huge divine sense, which was comparable to the nascent soul stage, soared into the sky and suppressed the greedy impulses of the demonic qi in his blood. Then he began to use the flesh condensation technique. The reason why Lu Kuan needed to cultivate the demonic qi in his blood was to unify his blood and flesh through this abnormal energy. After his blood and flesh were condensed, the demonic qi in his blood would instinctively want to devour the essence of his organs and tendons. In this way, the essence of his blood and flesh would become a hole in the depths of his bones. Through the bloodline memory and Hong Yuntian's letter, Lu Kuan knew that although the demonic qi in his blood was extremely evil, it had an advantage, and that was its symbiotic nature with the body. Because of the symbiotic nature of the demonic qi in his blood and flesh, the demonic qi in his blood and flesh had a high probability of restoring the essence of his blood and flesh. Lu Kuan then used the flesh condensation technique to restore his body. The flesh and blood condensation technique was created by him for this stage. As early as in the Yuan mystery realm, Lu Kuan had thought of this path. However, this still had a great risk. If his judgment was wrong and the demonic qi in his blood and flesh could not restore the essence of his blood and flesh, Then his body would be completely dead and only bones would be left. If I want to generate the original power of my body, this is the only way. How can I not take the risk? Lu Kuan's mind flashed with a resolute thought. His burly body shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye and gradually turned into a jade skeleton wearing a robe. He sat cross-legged on the ground, looking extremely strange. Chapter 867. After the condensation of his flesh and blood was completed, Lu Kuan's consciousness relaxed and released the suppression of his qi and blood demonic power. The greedy energy immediately surged within Lu Kuan's bones, devouring the surrounding flesh and blood essence as if it was thirsting for it. As the qi and blood demonic power was devoured, a large amount of demonic qi from the devil stones gathered and surged into the bones. Lu Kuan's consciousness fluctuated violently as an unbearable pain spread out. It was as if countless ants were gnawing at his flesh and blood. His sensory nerves were also being devoured. However, as his nerves were gradually gnawed away, the pain gradually subsided. At the same time, the feeling of his internal organs gradually disappeared. His vision above the eye sockets of his bones fell into darkness, and his ears could not hear any sound. Soon, his brain was also engulfed by an increasingly large amount of qi and blood demonic power. Lu Kuan had no choice but to activate the bone concealment technique he created to let his consciousness leave his sea of consciousness and enter the bone treasure. Without the bone concealment technique, Lu Kuan would not have dared to take such a risk. Otherwise, his sea of consciousness would have been devoured by the qi and blood demonic power. For example, the Hong brothers' consciousness had left their bodies and could only rely on the remnants of their subbodies. During the time their consciousness left their bodies, their control over their qi and blood demonic power was greatly reduced. Lu Kuan's bone concealment technique allowed his consciousness to attach itself to the bone treasure. The bone treasure was so powerful that the qi and blood demonic power could not devour it at all. Naturally, his consciousness could continue to maintain control over the qi and blood demonic power. In this way, as a large amount of demonic qi was absorbed into his body, the qi and blood demonic power in the bone treasure increased rapidly. 3 days later, it broke through the middle core formation stage and entered the late core formation stage. On the 7th day, it reached the peak core formation stage. At this time, Lu Kuan's flesh and blood essence had not been completely devoured. Some of the swelling qi and blood demonic power seemed to be unsatisfied and continued to devour. A large number of devil stones were consumed, but the qi and blood demonic power continued to increase. After another 5 days, all of Lu Kuan's flesh and blood essence had disappeared. It had been devoured by the qi and blood demonic power. At this time, the depths of his bones were filled with a golden red liquid. This liquid was incomparably thick and contained an enormous amount of qi and blood energy. What surprised Lu Kuan even more was that the fluctuations of qi and blood energy now exceeded that of the great circle of the core formation realm. In terms of quantity, it seemed to be somewhat similar to Ba Yonkai's qi and blood energy. An incomparably dense pressure spread throughout the secret chamber. It was as if an early nascent soul stage demonic cultivator was present, but it lacked the power of the nascent soul stage. Even at this level, the blood energy was still surging within his bones, as if it wanted to devour Lu Kuan's bones. But no matter how it rolled, Lu Kuan's bone treasure remained unmoved. Not even a grain of bone marrow loosened. Lu Kuan's spirit sense gushed out from the bone treasure, enveloping all of the blood essence and devil power. He forcibly operated the cloud-passing body refinement art, forcing the blood essence and devil power to spit out the blood essence and flesh essence. Fortunately, his divine sense was far stronger than that of a perfected core formation cultivator. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to suppress the sudden increase in his qi and blood demonic power. As the golden red liquid calmed down, A large amount of essence was spat out and separated from its original position. The heart was in the sternum, while the spleen, lungs, and kidneys were in the ribs and spine. The tendons and the bones also slowly emerged according to the position of their respective muscles. Only the dark golden blood essence and devil power remained. At this time, the blood essence and devil power were already indistinguishable from the blood. Then, Lu Kuan used the method he used to deal with the true demonic intent. He wrapped the blood essence and devil power in blood essence crystals and hid it in the depths of his bones. Then, he injected chaotic magic power into his blood and began to operate the flesh and blood condensation technique. Tendons gradually grew on the surface of his bones, followed by a large number of muscle fibers, then blood vessels, and finally, his internal organs emerged from the blood vessels one by one. After absorbing a large amount of spiritual energy, Lu Kuan restored his physical body. The power of his divine sense also returned to his sea of consciousness. He opened his eyes and let out a breath with lingering fear. Although there were some risks, I succeeded in the end. After the blood essence was strengthened by the blood essence, it was almost weakened to the level of a foundation establishment stage cultivator. He felt the blood essence and devil power crystal in the depths of his bones. There were bursts of desire and weakness coming from it. Then he thought of the demonic zombies in the devil refining cave and understood. The blood essence and the flesh and blood essence have a symbiotic relationship. Without the flesh and blood essence, the blood essence and devil power will be in a weakened state. It may even regress. Qian Jingshan merged the blood essence and devil cores of several demonic zombies to reach the state required by the devil refining art. However, my flesh and blood were cultivated by myself. Even if I don't rely on the blood essence and devil power with the power of the bone treasure, my physical body is still strong. Lu Kuan's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. For me, Lu Kuan, the blood essence and devil power are not symbiotic at all. They are master and servant. Lu Kuan, use my physical body as the main body, and the blood essence and devil power are just servants that I use. He felt the changes in his physical body. After devouring the blood essence and devil power, there was a very subtle connection between his blood, tendons, and internal organs. It seemed that they could be transformed into each other. While thinking, Lu Kuan raised his arm. The muscles on his arm rapidly swelled. Blue veins coiled around his arm. It grew several times larger. However, he didn't use the connecting arm's divine ability. With a boom, Lu Kuan casually smashed the ground, shattering the restrictions on the ground and creating a large hole. Then, his arm shook and returned to normal. However, the blood essence in his body decreased slightly. Lu Kuan looked pensive. That strike just now increased my strength by at least 10%. It easily activated the blood essence into the muscles and increased the attack power. Unfortunately, without the origin power of the physical body and without borrowing strength, it is still very difficult to strike out with a force of 440,000 kilograms. Then, Lu Kuan's arm quickly waved. In an instant, his arm seemed to go against the joints and struck behind him. Several fist shadows appeared on his back, and the sound of air exploding rang out incessantly. Lu Kuan was slightly stunned. Then his entire body began to dance in the cave. His legs and arms blasted out at inconceivable angles. It was as if the elasticity of his muscles had reached the limit. With his joints as the axis, he attacked in all directions. This meant that his physical body had no blind spots. He could extend all kinds of fighting styles. It went without saying that it would increase the combat strength of a body cultivator. Lu Kuan slowly came to a stop. He thought of the time when he fought with the demonic zombies. Those top-level demonic zombies, under the support of the physical body's origin power, had removed the restrictions on their joints. It was similar to his current situation. With a thought, his sturdy muscles thinned. Those muscle fibers were transferred through his blood and attached to his internal organs, adding a layer of muscle protection to his internal organs. Then, his body trembled and returned to normal. His face was full of joy. This direction is correct. The flesh essence, under the devouring of the blood essence and devil power, has condensed into a whole body. It can be easily transferred through the blood, and my combat strength has greatly increased. Lu Kuan sensed the subtle changes in his body while pondering in his mind. Now that the blood essence and devil power have formed, the flesh and blood have become a whole, then there's only the last step left. The production of the physical body's origin power required the body to become a whole. At this time, Lu Kuan's body was divided into two parts. One part was the flesh essence that had been fused with the blood essence and devil power, and the other part was the incomparably powerful bone treasure. Lu Kuan's last step was to fuse these two parts into one, and the medium in the middle was still the blood essence and devil power. Lu Kuan sensed the weak blood essence and devil power in the depths of his bone marrow and pondered. The strength of my bone treasure is stronger than the bones of a demonic general. Even if the blood essence and devil power is comparable to the early nascent soul stage, it is impossible to devour it. Then, there's only one way to fuse it. That is to use the blood essence and devil power to refine my mature bone treasure in the same way that cultivators refine magic treasures. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with golden light as he looked at his bones. Core formation stage, cultivators refine magic treasures, absorb them into their bodies, and fuse them with their magic power. It is the same for nascent soul stage cultivators. Although my bones are a part of my body, they're also an incomparably terrifying life source magic treasure. My chi and blood devil power is incomparably vigorous under the support of the essence of my flesh and blood. It is not cultivated through the bone treasure, so it can be completely refined. As long as the blood essence and devil power successfully refine this bone treasure, the body will become a whole, and a whole with a physical body attached to it. This satisfies the conditions for the production of the physical body's origin power. Chapter 868. Lu Kuan sat cross-legged in the magic stone array. He concentrated part of the essence of his flesh and blood and added it to the chi and blood demonic power in the depths of his blood. At the same time, he released a little chaotic mana, allowing the two to converge in his bones. But what was strange was that the two conflicting energies, demonic power and mana, did not produce a strong rejection, and even had a tendency to fuse. Lu Kuan revealed a thoughtful expression. The mana of the bone treasure stage body cultivator grew with the bone treasure as the dantian, and became one with the bone treasure. The blood demonic power and chi and blood demonic power were all cultivated through other parts of the body, and were different from the bone treasure. So demonic power could refine the bone treasure. Lu Kuan once showed signs of the fusion of the blood demonic power and thunder attribute mana during the middle stage of the bone treasure stage cultivation. Now it seemed that this phenomenon showed that the demonic power had an opportunity to refine the bone treasure. Before Lu Kuan reached the middle stage of the bone treasure stage, the blood demonic power was still at the foundation establishment stage, and naturally there was no opportunity to refine the bone treasure. After reaching the middle stage of the bone treasure stage, with the help of the 9-star physique, he forcibly cultivated the blood demonic power of the middle stage of the core formation stage, which was similar to the thunder mana of the bone treasure. After a long time, it naturally produced an opportunity to refine the bone treasure. Now his chi and blood demonic power had surpassed the great circle of the core formation stage, and the mana in the bone treasure was not only at the level of the great circle of the core formation stage, but also of the 5 elements chaos attribute. Moreover, the origin of the chi and blood demonic power was the essence of the flesh and blood, and the origin of the chaos mana was the bone treasure. Both were Lu Kuan's flesh, and with the characteristic of the chi and blood demonic power devouring the flesh, the demonic power could completely refine the bone treasure. Lu Kuan took a deep breath, adjusted the chaos mana, and turned it into mana crystals to merge into the bone treasure. Then, he used the flesh and blood condensation technique to condense the essence of the flesh and blood demonic power. Gradually, Lu Kuan turned into crystal-clear jade bones. An incomparably thick demonic power aura that far exceeded the great circle of the core formation stage appeared in this cave. Lu Kuan's spiritual will was stored in the bone treasure. He used a refining technique that any core formation stage cultivator would use. A huge amount of demonic chi and blood began to surge within the bone treasure. A large amount of demonic chi began to gather towards his bones. What he wanted to refine was not 1 or 2 magic treasures, but 206 inlaid, matured magic treasures, which would certainly consume a lot of time and devil chi. 1 day, 5 days, 20 days. For 10 whole days, Lu Kuan's bone treasure did not change at all. His chi and blood surged in vain. It seemed that even with the art of refining, it could not do anything to this sparkling and translucent bone treasure. There was not even a trace of refining. All of a sudden, a 5-colored halo appeared around the bone treasure. Deep inside the bone treasure, a dark spot lit up. The chaos power surged out of the bone treasure and merged with the golden-red blood chi demonic power. Lu Kuan's divine soul fluctuated. What's going on? The blood chi demonic power hasn't refined the bone treasure, but it has already merged with the chaos power. Isn't that demonic power the bone treasure's magic power? It's even more impossible to refine the bone treasure. He hurriedly stopped the refining technique and forcibly suppressed the chaos power and blood chi demonic power. The blood chi demonic power is so huge, but it can't even refine a trace of the bone treasure in 10 days. Could it be because the bone treasure has merged with the silver dragon meteorite iron, and the material is too strong? The 5-colored halo and demonic spot that appeared just now caused the blood chi demonic power and the chaos power to merge quickly. Is it because of the jade bone humanoid devil's attribute? Lu Kuan thought for a moment and guessed the reason. The jade bone humanoid devil was refined by the Yuan sect by fusing the great 5 elements force with the essence of the demon race in order to resist the true demon intent. The chaos power in Lu Kuan's body was equivalent to the great 5 elements force, while the blood chi demonic power was equivalent to the essence of the demon race. Under the influence of the jade bone humanoid devil's attribute, their fusion was accelerated. Lu Kuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Old Demon Pang, a great cultivator, had helped him refine the 5 elements chaos demon bone. Not only was it extremely difficult to refine, but it also accelerated the fusion of demonic power and blood chi, which was the biggest obstacle to his self-refining. According to Lu Kuan's deduction, self-refining was the last step to generate the origin power of the physical body. If I use my own cultivation method to enter the realm of great success of the bone treasure, the difficulty of refining the bone treasure will be greatly reduced without the silver dragon meteorite iron. Without the jade bone humanoid devil's attribute, the demonic power and blood chi demonic power won't merge so quickly and self-refining won't be so difficult. Lu Kuan calmed himself down and forced himself to calm down. There were pros and cons to everything. Although the obstacle to his breakthrough was great, his great success bone treasure had fused with the silver dragon meteorite iron, and its defensive power had completely exceeded his current realm. He could remain unscathed in the aftermath of a late nascent soul stage battle. As for the Jadebone humanoid devil's attribute, it seemed to have something to do with breaking through to the spirit severing stage. He vaguely heard old Demon Pang say that the conflict between the heaven and earth Yuan Qi and demonic Yuan Qi might be of great use in the future. When encountering a problem, one had to think of a way to solve it. There was always a worst way. Lu Kuan pondered, chaos demonic power and bone treasure are one, while blood Qi demonic power is the other. Now that the bone treasure is too powerful, the blood Qi demonic power is at a disadvantage. I need to balance the two. But under the effect of the 9 stars physique, the blood chi demonic power has already surpassed the great circle of the core formation stage. The total amount is even close to the early nascent soul stage. There's no way to increase this amount. Moreover, the demonic power attribute has already been fixed. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan was suddenly shocked. That's right, the demonic power attribute. Hong Yuntian's blood, qi demonic power. Lu Kuan waved his bone claw, and two demonic corpses emitting dense corpse qi appeared in front of him. One of them was a late core formation demonic zombie at the outermost periphery of the Devil Refinement Cave, while the other was a top-grade demonic zombie at the center. Lu Kuan's skeletal eye sockets flickered with a faint golden light. These two demonic zombies were formed by a demonic zombie body refiner who failed to break through to the nascent soul stage. The blood qi demonic power of the peak core formation stage and the demonic zombie subbody. After tens of thousands of years, the blood qi demonic power has already weakened. This top-grade demonic zombie relied on the body of a mid-devil general to maintain its blood qi demonic power at the peak core formation stage. The other demonic zombie's body was only at the early core formation stage, but directly degenerated to the late core formation stage. His soul trembled. If I devour these two demonic cores, the blood qi demonic power in my body will increase exponentially. It will also fuse with the Een attribute of the nether insects. Even with the jade bone humanoid devil's effect, the blood qi demonic power won't fuse with the chaos demonic power so quickly. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan began to absorb the dense spirit qi in the surroundings. He circulated the flesh condensation art and slowly recovered his body. According to Hong Yuntian's notes, the nether demonic power has a huge hidden danger. It will produce bloodthirsty thoughts towards the consciousness. I, Lu Kuan, am not even afraid of the true demon intent. What can this nether demonic power do to me? In the Yi Yuan secret realm, Hong Yuntian, who transformed into the leader of the demonic zombies, was clear-headed after awakening. The other demonic zombies also had their consciousness greatly enhanced with the support of their physical body origin power. Clearly, physical body origin power is the solution to the nether demonic power. As long as physical body origin power is generated with the amazing defensive power of my bone treasure and the support of the arm connection ability, my strength will increase to a terrifying level. Lu Kuan's face, which was gradually covered by muscle fibers, revealed a somewhat cruel and sinister smile. His slightly empty eye sockets seemed to be burning with scorching flames. Chapter 869. Half a day later, Lu Kuan's body was restored to its original state. He formed a claw with one hand and waved it forward with a whistling sound. With a cracking sound, the incomparably hard purple-black scales were easily crushed by the terrifying power. A purple-black golden core mixed with a dense cold aura fell into Lu Kuan's hand. This dark magic core had the fluctuations of a late core formation realm cultivator and was surging with thirst and greed. Golden light flashed in Lu Kuan's eyes, and he swallowed the dark magic core without hesitation. Then, his body quickly dried up as the essence of his flesh and blood merged with his demonic qi. The incomparably dense golden-red liquid demonic qi in his body immediately wrapped around the dark magic core. The purple-black liquid was unwillingly swallowed up. At this time, the chaotic magic power in Lu Kuan's bones took the lead and merged with the purple-black liquid. A powerful destructive force surged in his body. Lu Kuan opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of dark red blood essence. It landed on the ground in front of him and emitted a rotten smell. The demonic qi core was cultivated by a demonic zombie body refiner and contained the essence of the demonic zombie body refiner. Although it was also of the human race, it also had many impurities that could not be merged with Lu Kuan's. The destructive force produced by the chaotic magic power and the unfamiliar demonic qi was suitable for purification. Lu Kuan still remembered the strange demonic beasts in the demonic beast garden. He did not want to absorb the essence of others and cause his body to mutate. As he spat out this mouthful of impurities, the golden red demonic qi core took the opportunity to absorb the weakened demonic chi essence and devour the energy of the same origin. 1 day, 2 days. It was not until the 3rd day that Lu Kuan stopped casting. A large pool of dark red blood essence had accumulated in front of him, and a strong, rotten smell filled the cave. In 3 days, the demonic chi core in his body had increased by more than 10%, and there was an additional cold aura. Just as Lu Kuan had guessed, his attributes had changed. After Lu Kuan recovered his magic power, he looked at the other demonic zombie and used the same method 3 times to break open its abdomen. He took out a peak core formation realm demonic chi core and swallowed it. Unexpectedly, the demonic chi core turned into a liquid as soon as it entered his body. It avoided Lu Kuan's demonic chi and demonic chi core and rushed toward the translucent bones. What cunning energy! It was Lu Kuan's demonic chi and demonic chi core. It seemed to know how powerful his demonic chi core was and demonic chi core and demonic chi core, and wanted to devour his bones to strengthen it. That purple-black liquid nether demonic power quickly spread all over the bones, transforming into tiny energy dots that tried to devour the bones, letting out an ear-piercing sound of friction. Demonic, demonic, demonic chi, core, 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 demonic, 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 chi, demonic, demonic chi, core, 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 demonic, demonic chi. Flows of obliterating aura that were even stronger rippled out and blasted many bloody holes on Lu Kuan's shriveled skin. Stinky essence blood oozed out from those holes. The golden red chi, blood, demonic power attacked from the back, tightly wrapping around the outside of the bones and responding with the chaos magic power. The purplish-black nether demonic energy had no way out and could only be slowly eaten away by the two. During this devouring process, a strong, bloodthirsty intent gradually appeared in his chi and blood, but when he used the art of hiding bone, this intent could not affect him. This time, the devouring speed was very fast. In just a day, all of the energy in the blood chi dark core had been absorbed, and there was a large amount of rotten blood essence residue in the surroundings. Lu Kuan shot out a stream of true fire, incinerating the impurities in the flesh and blood. Then, he activated the flesh and blood condensation technique, allowing the flesh to transform back and forth between the white bones and the human body. According to his understanding of the flesh and blood, during the rebirth of the flesh and blood, the impurities in the flesh and blood would emerge. He could then use the chi blood demonic power and chaos magic power to expel them from the body. After more than 10 days, as some of the impurities in the flesh and blood were expelled, Lu Kuan, who had turned back into a body of white bones, exuded an incomparably dense aura of cold and demonic power. At this time, the attribute of the chi blood demonic power was even colder and contained a bloodthirsty intent. The degree of its density was 50% higher than before. Lu Kuan's bones were filled with the golden red liquid chi blood demonic power. Such an enormous amount of demonic power, except for the fact that it did not have the power of a nascent soul, even surpassed that of a demonic cultivator who had just entered the nascent soul stage. Lu Kuan sat silently, adjusting his magic power and demonic power to the best state, and then activated the art of treasure refining. The incomparably dense and demonic power of blood demonic power once again surged in his bones. Unlike last time, not long after the art of treasure refining was activated, the bone treasure flashed with countless rays of light, and all of the bones trembled slightly, producing creaking sounds. The bone treasure is subconsciously resisting the refinement. It works. Lu Kuan was overjoyed. He hurriedly suppressed the chaos magic power, withdrew the light, and controlled the bone treasure to meet the refinement of the chi blood demonic power. A large amount of pure demonic chi gushed out from the magic stone array, replenishing the consumption of the chi blood demonic power. As the refinement progressed, there was no pain in the bones. Instead, there was a burst of numbness. Lu Kuan felt as if he was in his mother's fetus. It was incomparably comfortable, and waves of sleepiness invaded his divine sense. Not good. Lu Kuan shuddered. His divine sense moved, and a thick necklace of wooden beads hung on his neck. Waves of coolness came from the demon soul wooden beads, dispelling most of the sleepiness. Lu Kuan felt a burst of fear. The divine sense and the bone treasure became one. When the chi blood demonic power refined the bone treasure, it also refined the divine sense. If I fell asleep just now, wouldn't I also be refined by the chi blood demonic power and lose my consciousness? That's right, the bone treasure is being refined step by step. I can transfer a small part of my divine sense to the bone treasure that has been refined. Lu Kuan did as he thought. He separated a little bit of his divine sense into the chi blood demonic power, resisting the bloodthirsty demonic power, and quickly transferred it. When these threads of divine sense entered the refined bone treasure, he suddenly felt very awake. After finding a way, Lu Kuan used the cool aura of the demon soul would to gradually transfer his divine sense as the refinement progressed. He did not know if it was because of the transfer, but the strength of Lu Kuan's divine sense began to steadily increase. And in the process of transferring his divine sense, he could feel that part of the refined bone treasure had a special connection with the chi blood demonic power, as if the cells were fused together. Lu Kuan carefully felt this wonderful physical condition, and at the same time recalled the feeling that the original physical strength gave him. 10 days, 20 days, 1 month, after a full 3 months and nearly 100,000 devil stones, Lu Kuan's entire bone treasure was finally completely refined by the chi blood demonic power. The moment the refinement succeeded, Lu Kuan's divine sense seemed to have undergone some kind of sublimation, and it violently trembled. The spiritual chi of the entire Demon Soul Island was also strongly attracted, forming a large spiritual chi vortex. It carried an enormous spiritual chi pressure as it madly poured into Lu Kuan's cave residence. All the remaining devil stones on the ground shattered at the same time, turning into dense demonic chi that entered the jade bone. The golden red chi blood demonic power and the milky white primal chaos power began to fuse together. Although the chi blood demonic power was much more vigorous, the primal chaos power had a special attribute, and with the help of endless pure spiritual chi, it was not at a disadvantage in the fusion process. As the two fused, a trace of silver energy appeared in the bone. At the same time, the surface of the sparkling and translucent jade bone lit up with complicated patterns. These patterns are the most important arrays of the sentient puppet that old Devil Pang had drawn when refining the jade bone humanoid devil. Elemental Spirit Array. A mysterious and strange aura appeared in the elemental spirit array. Lu Kuan's jade bone trembled slightly, and as if it had lost its weight, it slowly floated up. Gradually, the silver energy fused together with the elemental spirit array grew more and more powerful. The spiritual chi vortex and dense demonic chi in the surroundings began to distort unnaturally. After a while, the entire cave residence began to tremble. The restrictions that enveloped the walls flickered incessantly, as if they were under some kind of attack. A large amount of devil stone fragments and array materials on the ground floated up strangely under the slight tremors of the cave residents. As if attracted by some kind of force, they surged toward Lu Kuan's jade bone. However, when they were 3 feet away from the jade bone, they were crushed into powder by an invisible and terrifying force. First, set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, book guest house. Chapter 870. On Demon Spirit Island, countless amounts of spirit chi were inexplicably affected. They turned into colorful spirit chi vortexes that carried an inexplicable pressure and gathered towards Lu Kuan's cave. The animals on the island were extremely frightened and ran towards the edge of Demon Spirit Island. In the Demon Chi area, the black mountain apes that were full of spirit chi seemed to be under greater pressure. They all crawled on the ground and trembled. Dahe stood beside the demon spirit wood. It felt the change and pressure of the spirit chi, and its monkey face showed a human-like expression of excitement. Xiao Hongfei and Lu Zhao's figures floated above the 8th Spirit Valley. The two of them widened their eyes and looked at the spirit chi phenomenon in disbelief. The pressure formed by the spirit chi vortexes shocked, even with their core formation cultivation. What realm is Lu Shidi breaking through? Is the late core formation stage so terrifying? Lu Xiao murmured. A while ago, Lu Kuan's message said that he was going into seclusion, but he didn't say what realm he was breaking through. And according to the news he received, Lu Kuan had been thinking of ways to break through to the late bone treasure realm. But the scene now looked like Xiao Hongfei's expression was complicated. He said with some difficulty, "This is not the late core formation stage. Such a terrifying spirit chi phenomenon will only appear when one is breaking through to the nascent soul stage." Lu Kuan created his own cultivation method and reached this step so quickly. Lu Xiao was stunned and then said with joy, "Brother Xiao, is what you said true? Lu Shidi's spirit chi phenomenon is a nascent soul stage breakthrough?" Xiao Hongfei clenched his fist and his eyes flashed with unwillingness. Once in the Shangqing sect, I was lucky enough to see the spirit chi phenomenon of an elder in the sect. Besides, if it wasn't a nascent soul stage breakthrough, how could there be such a terrifying pressure? Xiao Hongfei's voice was slightly bitter. He thought that he was a genius. He used the ancient core formation method to condense a golden core, and his spiritual sense was far superior to his peers. Now, he was less than 300 years old and had reached the peak of the middle core formation stage. He hadn't expected that Lu Kuan, who had been weaker than him back then, would actually be so much ahead of him. Just as the two of them were exclaiming in amazement, the restriction outside Lu Kuan's cave suddenly shattered. Cracks also appeared on the rocks of the cave's mountain peak. Xiao Hongfei and Lu Xiao couldn't help but feel their hearts palpitate. They could faintly feel a strange energy coming out from these cracks, and the surrounding spiritual energy vortex became even more turbulent. Bang! In the next moment, a huge explosion was heard. The cave completely exploded, turning into a pile of scattered rocks. However, the strange thing was that these rocks were not blown away. Instead, they floated around the cave as if they were weightless. In the cracks of the mountain rocks, one could faintly see a sparkling and translucent jade skeleton floating in the middle. The spiritual chi vortex that filled the sky was converging towards this jade skeleton, and at the bottom, there's a large amount of demonic chi surging. The jade skeleton seemed to be emitting some kind of special energy, and the mountain rocks that came into contact with it were all turned into fine powder. 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet gradually extended. The fine powder mixed with the spiritual chi vortex and surrounded the jade skeleton, appearing extremely strange. It was like a strange force field, and the jade skeleton was the center of this force field. Xiao Hongfei and Lu Zhao's palpitations became more and more serious. Their skin even broke out in goosebumps as they felt a burst of coldness, causing the two of them to subconsciously put up a magical shield. How did Lu Shidi turn into a skeleton? But the spiritual chi fluctuations and this pressure. Lu Xiao was dumbfounded, his face full of disbelief. Xiao Hongfei also revealed a look of confusion. The physical body had turned into a skeleton, clearly dead. The soul of an immortal cultivator without a physical body couldn't survive for too long. However, Lu Kuan's skeleton seemed to be like a complete physical body, absorbing a large amount of spiritual chi. It didn't have a nascent soul, but it showed signs of nascent soul formation. It also emitted a strange pressure that they had never encountered before. As time passed, the strange force field emitted by the jade skeleton continued to spread. 3 feet, 4 feet, until it reached 5 feet. Suddenly, an incomparably dull roar came from the sky above Demon's Spirit Island. The demonic chi, spiritual chi, and even the demonic chi hidden under the sea began to tremble. Some of the small, chaotic storms directly dissipated on their own, as if they were afraid of something. At some unknown time, a large amount of dark clouds began to gather in the sky above the chaotic ocean. The sky was completely dark, and traces of shocking lightning flashed within. The huge dark clouds began to rotate, with Demon Spirit Island as the center. Traces of lightning gradually fused within it, as if it was nurturing some kind of terrifying lightning. A world-destroying aura spread out from the dark clouds. Under this world-destroying pressure, Demon Spirit Island slightly trembled and emerged from its invisible state. The light barrier outside lit up with a faint halo. This kind of ancient restriction had no choice but to reveal its true form. Xiao Hongfei and Lu Xiao looked at the strange phenomenon in the sky above Demon Spirit Island with a dumbstruck expression. They had only heard that when a 7th grade demon beast broke through to the 8th grade and took human form, it would encounter a tribulation lightning. However, they had never heard of a tribulation lightning when a cultivator broke through to the nascent soul stage. Not to mention, the tribulation lightning before them was extremely terrifying. Even through the light barrier around Demon Spirit Island, they could still feel the destructive energy. The magic energy in their bodies was even emitting a feeling of fear, wanting to retreat into their golden cores. Just as the dark clouds gathered above the chaotic sea, the abyssal island also began to tremble slightly. The light barrier around the entire island lit up, and all of the cultivators were bewildered. Even the core nascent soul cultivators of the abyssal island were startled awake and bewildered by what was happening. Somewhere on Abyss Island, a middle-aged woman raised her eyes and looked at the chaotic ocean. Her tone was a little surprised, as if she was talking to herself. "It's just a trace of the tribulation lightning. How'd it wake you up?" Following her words, Abyss Island calmed down again, as if the tremor just now was an illusion. After a while, the middle-aged woman's expression changed. Her eyes flashed with disbelief. "No, this isn't an ordinary tribulation lightning. Even from so far away, I can feel the violent yuan qi of heaven and earth. Even the top bloodline of the ancient demon clan couldn't trigger such a terrifying tribulation lightning. It's as if the whole world is angry." Then, the middle-aged woman's figure flashed and disappeared. As the dark clouds gathered, the body cultivators of the first generation in the warrior's holy city flew out one after another. Shi Chao, Yu Xian, Pan Yin, and Xiao Jin were all here. The 3 people and 1 monkey looked at Demon Spirit Island and the dense dark clouds with a stunned expression. Xiao Jin seemed to have understood something. She was dancing and screaming anxiously. They didn't hesitate and flew toward Demon Spirit Island. 1,000 miles away from the chaotic ocean, an old man in a fiery red robe with sparse hair floated in the air. A tricolored flame flashed in his hand, emitting an extremely hot temperature. As if he felt something, the old man raised his head and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. "This is the aura of the tribulation lightning. A demon cultivator actually broke through in the inner sea. This is my opportunity." Then, he looked at the tricolored flame in his hand and snorted. "Oyanla's Triong flame is also in that direction. Humph, how dare you steal my scorching sun sex heavenly flame? You must be tired of living. I'll deal with you together." After saying that, the old man's spiritual power surged and turned into a dazzling flame escape light, flying into the distance. Apart from this old man, all the cultivators with profound magic power within a 1,000-kilometer radius felt this shocking phenomenon. First, set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, Bookhouse. Chapter 871. Lu Kuan raised his skull. His empty eye sockets flashed with a trace of golden light as he looked at the black clouds emitting a destructive aura. He could clearly feel that the tribulation cloud had locked onto him. No matter if he dodged or not, the tribulation cloud's lightning would strike his body. What's more, Lu Kuan didn't have the spare energy to dodge. At this time, his body was in a very subtle state. All of his cells seemed to have become the same origin, promoting the fusion of his vitality and spiritual power. The silver energy produced by the two was the origin energy of his body. With the help of the spirit array, it immediately produced the origin energy of his body. The strange force field that spread to a range of 15 meters was the manifestation of the origin energy of his body. But for some reason, when the fusion of his vitality and spiritual power was halfway through, it became incomparably slow. The range of his origin energy was also stuck at 15 meters. In his bones, the essence of his body was in a state of separation. Half of it was in his vitality, and the other half was in the silver energy. In this state, he couldn't restore his body. If the fusion of vitality and spiritual power suddenly stopped, it would likely lead to the loss of his body's essence. At that time, even if the silver energy was completely transformed, he wouldn't be able to restore his body. Therefore, the most important thing for Lu Kuan now was to focus on maintaining the fusion of his vitality and spiritual power. He couldn't be interrupted by the tribulation lightning. Only when the essence of his body was complete and completely fused with the silver energy would his body's origin energy be completely generated. Only then would he be considered to have completed his breakthrough. Lu Kuan's empty eye sockets flashed with an inexplicable light. If a body cultivator breaks through to the bone treasure stage like a demon cultivator breaking through to the 7th rank, there would be a tribulation lightning. This would instead confirm the path I deduced. After a demon cultivator goes through a transformation tribulation lightning, they can transform into a human and flexibly use the spells of a cultivator. There would be a qualitative change. Similarly, after a body cultivator goes through a tribulation lightning, there would definitely be a shocking change. This would lead to the wrath of the heavens and earth, creating a tribulation lightning to prevent a high-level body cultivator from appearing. While Lu Kuan was pondering, a purple bolt of lightning that was as thick as a millstone surged out from the pitch-black vortex. Dense plasma surged within it, and it even contained a destructive force. Under the unique aura of the lightning tribulation, the restrictions around Demon Spirit Island seemed to be affected and dissipated layer by layer. The entire island was exposed to the chaotic ocean. This thick lightning tribulation descended from the sky and blasted directly onto Lu Kuan's skeleton. Like a purple pillar of light, a large amount of dense lightning flashed on the crystal-clear skeleton, and a huge destructive aura filled it. The two nearby mountain peaks were easily reduced to ashes by a few flashes of lightning. However, such dense and terrifying lightning was completely helpless against a mere human skeleton. The purple lightning pillar, which contained a destructive aura, was forcibly drained of its offensive power by the terrifying defensive power of the bones. It turned into 5-colored spiritual energy and entered Lu Kuan's bones. As this incomparably pure 5-element spirit chi, the slow fusion of magic power and magic power accelerated, and the invisible force field aura of the physical origin power also began to spread. Hundreds of feet away, Xiao Hongfei looked at the jade-like skeleton that didn't even have a single crack and muttered, "That lightning tribulation just now contained a destructive power." Its attack power was no less than an all-out attack from an early nascent soul cultivator. Even if Lu Kuan's skeleton is comparable to a magic treasure, how could it be unharmed? Fear flashed in his eyes. Hundreds of feet away, all the magic power in his body was withdrawn. This destructive power was probably even stronger than the power of an ordinary nascent soul cultivator. If that lightning tribulation had fallen on him and Xiao Hongfei, they wouldn't have been able to resist and would have been blasted to ashes without being able to use magic power. The black tribulation clouds in the sky seemed to have sensed Lu Kuan's situation and angrily roiled. In just 10 breaths of time, a second thick lightning bolt descended from the sky. Although it didn't seem to have changed in size, the destructive power inside was even stronger. It was like the power of a peak early nascent soul cultivator. The countless lightning bolts inside also turned dark purple. rumble, accompanied by the deafening sound of thunder. A large number of dark purple, tiny lightning bolts bombarded outside the white skeleton. A huge destructive aura surged. The cavern under Lu Kuan was leveled by the residual power, and all kinds of restrictions disappeared without a trace. Wrapped in the thick plasma, a dazzling purple light suddenly flashed in the depths of the jade-like skeleton. The destructive power of the lightning tribulation was consumed at a rapid speed. When Lu Xiao saw this from afar, he seemed to have thought of something. He said excitedly, "That's right, Junior Martial Brother Lu has the hidden Thunder Spirit root. I've heard Junior Martial Brother mention before that his hidden spiritual root's divine ability is lightning resistance. The lightning tribulation is also a kind of lightning attack." Xiao Hongfei looked at the skeleton flashing with lightning in the distance and said with a stunned expression, "You said that Lu Kuan's body has lightning resistance, which greatly reduces the actual power of the lightning tribulation. That's why he can easily resist the lightning tribulation?" Lu Xiao's expression relaxed a lot. He said, "Lightning resistance should only be part of the reason. Since Lu Shidi is breaking through a big realm, he has naturally entered the late stage of Bone Treasure. According to Junior Brother Qin, when a body cultivator enters the late stage of Bone Treasure, his skeleton is equivalent to a magic treasure of the mature stage. The material of the skeleton is terrifying, almost the same as the life magic treasure of a nascent soul stage senior." Xiao Hongfei's throat was a little dry as he looked into the distance. Sure enough, the second lightning tribulation exhausted the destructive power and turned into pure spirit qi. At this time, a large pile of black stones appeared outside the jade-like skeleton, exuding an incomparably dense devil qi and entering the skeleton together with the spirit qi. Devil stones? Lu Kuan is only left with a skeleton. Where did he get the storage bag? Did Junior Brother hide his body and storage bag in the skeleton? The two people had blank looks on their faces. This kind of situation of a white skeleton transcending tribulation already exceeded their understanding. As Lu Kuan passed the second lightning tribulation, the tribulation clouds in the sky began to rotate faster. The chaotic spirit qi and devil qi near the demon spirit island seemed to be attracted by something and crazily poured into the tribulation clouds. A bolt of purplish-black lightning as thick as a bucket slowly poked its head out of the tribulation cloud vortex. In addition to the powerful destructive power, there was also a faint purplish halo that wrapped around this bolt of lightning. It emitted a completely different and terrifying pressure. After Xiao Hongfei saw this layer of halo, his body trembled a little. He said in disbelief, "Is it the world's essence qi? How is this possible? No matter how strong the lightning tribulation is, it can't contain the world's essence qi." Lu Xiao also felt the pressure formed by this halo. He suppressed the panic in his heart and said, "Brother Xiao, what is the world's essence qi? Is it stronger than the power of a nascent soul stage?" Xiao Hongfei's eyes flashed with extreme fear. "I also read in the ancient books of the Shangqing sect that the world's essence qi is the energy hidden in the depths of the spirit qi. It is part of the composition of this world. Only the legendary soul formation stage cultivators can freely control the world's essence qi. And late-stage nascent soul stage cultivators can barely add a trace of the world's essence qi to their attacks with the help of the nascent soul stage. With the help of the world's essence qi, their magical power is far beyond that of a mid-stage nascent soul stage cultivator. In the cultivation world where soul formation stage cultivators are nowhere to be seen, late-stage nascent soul stage cultivators are the top existences, so they are called grand cultivators." Lu Xiao looked at the slowly descending third lightning tribulation with an extremely ugly expression. In other words, Lu Shidi is going to face the attack of a grand cultivator this time? Xiao Hongfei's expression was solemn. He shook his head slightly and said, "Although it contains the world's essence qi, the destructive power of this lightning tribulation itself seems to be similar to the second one. It is equivalent to the peak of early-stage nascent soul stage, far weaker than the attack of a grand cultivator. This sentence made Lu Xiao breathe a sigh of relief, but his eyes still flashed with worry. Xiao Hongfei's eyes were burning as he felt the aura of this lightning tribulation with all his heart. If he could comprehend the world's essence qi, he might be able to make another breakthrough in his cultivation. This lightning tribulation was only 3 meters long and as thick as a water bucket. It was very slow, and it only landed on Lu Kuan's jade bones after dozens of breaths. Boom! A purplish-black lightning ball emitting a purple halo enveloped the tiny human skeleton. Waves of distorted ripples appeared in the air, and the surrounding spirit chi vortex turned into clouds and dispersed with a loud bang. Gradually, the purple halo outside the lightning ball slowly dissipated, and the destructive power inside was also rapidly depleted. After about 10 breaths, the lightning ball's color faded and turned into 5-colored pure spirit chi. At the same time, a pitch-black demon chi appeared out of thin air. At this moment, Lu Kuan's bones were no longer crystal clear, and there were countless charred marks on them. Even so, the bones were still intact, and there were no cracks on them. The lightning ball turned into pure spirit chi and demon chi and surged into the bones at the same time. The surrounding strange force field expanded again, and the range reached 8 meters. First, set a small target, such as 1 second. Remember, book guest residence. Lu Kuan guessed that this lightning tribulation had absorbed both the heaven-earth essence chi and the devil essence chi in the devil chi, so there was the existence of pure devil chi. It was also thanks to this. Otherwise, with just the magic stones, the energy supply of chi, blood, and mana would not be enough. Boom! In the distant sky, another deafening sound flashed. A bolt of tribulation lightning that was thicker than a millstone descended from the sky. The destructive power contained within it had doubled. In Lu Kuan's perception, it was similar to the cold Yin power of the Abyss Scorpion. It was a destructive power at the middle Yuanying stage. But what made him relax was that this lightning tribulation did not contain any heaven-earth Yuan Qi. At this time, the life force in the skeleton had been exhausted and the energy had been fused to 80%. Lu Kuan was a little anxious. Under the effect of his physical body's source energy, the skeleton took the initiative to soar into the air and meet the powerful mid-nascent soul stage tribulation lightning. Rumble, thick electric sparks flashed in the sky, and the demon spirit island turned into a purple world. The incomparably thick pillar of lightning wrapped around Lu Kuan's skeleton and let out ear-piercing thunderous sounds. Sure enough, as Lu Kuan expected, although the destructive power of the fourth lightning tribulation had greatly increased under the weakening of his lightning resistance, it was still unable to do anything to the bone treasure. Instead, its power was weaker than the third lightning tribulation. Gradually, the exhausted lightning tribulation could only helplessly transform into pure spiritual energy and life force. Lu Kuan scattered a pile of magic stones and absorbed the demonic chi within to speed up the fusion of the energy in his body. The life force of each lightning tribulation was strengthened, but the further it went, the greater the resistance to the fusion of energy. This fourth lightning tribulation barely allowed the silver energy within the skeleton to reach 90%. The source energy of his physical body also radiated out to 90 feet away. Lu Kuan's jade skeleton floated in the air and impatiently looked at the thick tribulation clouds in the sky. He only needed one more strand of life force for the silver energy within his body to be completely formed. Boom! As if it knew what Lu Kuan was thinking, the fifth bolt of tribulation lightning struck down from the vortex of tribulation clouds. The incomparably thick lightning and the deep purple electric light were so huge that they couldn't be any bigger. The destructive power contained within was even more vigorous, as if it was only a step away from a grand cultivator like Shi Jingtian. Clearly, it had reached the peak of the mid-nascent soul stage. However, there was still no heaven-earth yuan qi within this lightning tribulation. Lu Kuan did not have the slightest fear. After experiencing several lightning tribulations, he discovered that the power of the hidden spiritual root seemed to be able to weaken the power of lightning by half. When the fifth lightning tribulation landed on his skeleton, it was probably only at the mid-nascent soul stage. The mature bone treasure supported by the silver dragon meteorite could even resist the nascent soul true fire of a grand cultivator, let alone such an attack. Then, under the horrified gaze of Xiao Hongfei and Lu Xiao, Lu Kuan's skeleton was enveloped by the fifth lightning tribulation. The incomparably powerful destructive power flashed on the crystal-clear skeleton. Only a small part of the destructive power penetrated, but the dense bone material of the silver dragon cloud iron was only the first layer of the skeleton. There was a second layer of protection behind the bone material, which completely offset the destructive power that penetrated the skeleton. The energy in the depths of Lu Kuan's skeleton was not affected at all. After dozens of breaths, the enormous fifth lightning tribulation could only dissipate in vain. It turned into spiritual energy and vigorous life force, which was absorbed by Lu Kuan's bone treasure. The tribulation clouds in the sky seemed to have felt something. The huge black vortex spun faster, and the heaven-earth yuan qi and devil qi in the chaotic sea rolled again. It was very similar to the scene before the formation of the third lightning tribulation. Lu Kuan's skeleton slowly fell to the ground. The devil qi and mana in his body completely disappeared. Under the suppression of a life force, the coldine energy was completely integrated into the silver energy. The strange force field of his body's source strength that extended over 100 feet began to shrink as the silver energy took shape. A large amount of spiritual energy vortex appeared on Demon Spirit Island once more. The spiritual energy pressure was even more turbulent than before. As a large amount of spiritual energy poured in, the flesh and blood essence within the silver energy was spat out like blood qi and devil qi. A large amount of tendons appeared on the surface of Lu Kuan's jade-like bones. Dense muscle fibers quickly grew and wrapped around the bones. Silver blood also began to appear in his flesh and blood. A terrifying blood qi energy soared into the sky. Lu Kuan's body was quickly perfected, and his silver internal organs were formed one by one. In just 100 breaths of time, Lu Kuan's body had completely recovered. A terrifying pressure different from that of a nascent soul cultivator spread out in all directions, with Lu Kuan as the center. A layer of faint silver light appeared around his body and stuck close to his skin. The strange aura of his body's source strength flowed through the light. At this time, the tribulation vortex in the sky had finished brewing. A black bolt of lightning as thick as a bucket slowly descended like a black flood dragon. Lu Kuan closed his eyes and ignored the tribulation lightning. After the silver energy in his body had completely taken shape, he could sense a strange power hidden in the surrounding spiritual energy. When the sixth tribulation lightning appeared, the strange power hidden in the depths of the spiritual energy seemed to be attracted. It surrounded the black tribulation lightning and formed a purple halo. Heaven and Earth Yuan Qi. I can sense the existence of Heaven and Earth Yuan Qi. Lu Kuan opened his eyes. He felt a bit incredulous. A late-stage nascent soul cultivator relied on the power of their nascent soul to move the Heaven and Earth Yuan Qi, but he could sense it. But he soon discovered that although he could sense the Heaven and Earth Yuan Qi, the Heaven and Earth Yuan Qi didn't pay any attention to him. It was like a beautiful fairy lying naked in front of you, allowing you to pick her. But you could only look and not eat. It was an incomparably uncomfortable feeling. That's right, when the chaos magic power appeared, I also felt the Heaven and Earth Yuan Qi. Could it be because of the 5 elements chaos demon bone? Lu Kuan shook his head and threw this thought to the back of his mind. Excitement appeared on his face as he looked at the purple halo of the 6th tribulation lightning. Very good. This level of attack is only slightly weaker than that of a great nascent soul cultivator. Let's see if I, Lu Kuan, can contend with this destructive power after obtaining my body's source strength. The force field of his body's source strength wrapped around Lu Kuan's body. It didn't seem to continue spreading. Relying on this strange force field, Lu Kuan's body soared into the sky. He took a deep breath. He could feel the endless strength gushing out from his body cells, filling his entire body. Lu Kuan was incomparably excited. He couldn't help but open his mouth. The endless strength in his body seemed to have found an outlet. It was transmitted through his source cells and surged into his lungs. The silver energy's source strength also supported his lungs. Roar! A faint silver fluctuation crazily gushed out from Lu Kuan's mouth. His voice seemed to contain a tremendous strength that tore apart the air. Invisible fluctuations of strength surged out in all directions, scattering a massive amount of spiritual energy clouds. Thousands of feet away, Xiao Hongfei and Lu Zhao's complexions changed. They hurriedly added a soundproof barrier to their magic power shields. Even so, the terrifying strength of the sound wave still sent them flying back dozens of feet. However, their magic power shields still flashed with light and weren't destroyed. It was clear that after being sent thousands of feet away, the strength of the sound wave was greatly reduced. The sixth lightning tribulation was directly above Lu Kuan's head. It was directly hit by the sound wave, causing an irregular distortion. The destructive power inside seemed to have been attacked by an invisible force and was slightly reduced. My body's source strength can actually transmit power. Lu Kuan was stunned at first. Then he became even more excited. His legs bent slightly, and a strange distortion appeared in the void under his feet. It was as if it was being squeezed by several forces. Then Lu Kuan's tall and sturdy body soared into the sky. Within 3 feet of his body, a continuous force field was maintained, lending strength to his body so that his physical strength could be fully displayed. His fists, wrapped in a silver light film, surged with a terrifying and suffocating brute force. It was no less than 800,000 Gene, twice the strength of a large success bone treasure. It squeezed out a large amount of air, and a large number of blade-like air blades spread out in all directions. Lu Kuan's fists hit the black lightning dragon. As if it had received a heavy blow, the black lightning dragon's head tilted and its body trembled. The destructive power inside almost dissipated by more than half. Under the support of his body's source strength, the terrifying power of 800,000 Gene seemed to have reached the level of the mid-nascent soul stage. It forcibly eliminated the huge destructive power of the sixth lightning tribulation. However, with this attack, the silver light film outside Lu Kuan's body turned into little silver light spots and dissipated. The silver energy in his body was almost exhausted, but the force field within 3 feet of his body still existed. Then, his naked body was wrapped up by the black lightning serpent. The destructive power of the sixth lightning tribulation was greatly reduced, but the power of the heaven and earth yuan qi still existed. Lu Kuan's full and sturdy muscles quickly withered and became char-black. After entering a new realm, the body became a whole. The cells of the muscles and bone treasure became the same source, causing the defensive power of the muscles to increase dramatically. The lightning tribulation that contained the heaven and earth yuan qi was first blasted away by Lu Kuan and then consumed by the muscles. In the end, only a small part of it blasted the bone treasure and only slightly damaged its spirituality. The damage caused by the sixth lightning tribulation to Lu Kuan was actually not as good as the damage caused by the third lightning tribulation. The exhausted thunder tribulation lightning dragon quickly turned into colorful spirit chi and devil chi, which was absorbed by Lu Kuan's body. The dried-up silver energy quickly recovered, and at the same time, the power of chi and blood surged. The charred muscles fell off and new flesh wriggled. Lu Kuan did not feel any joy. He looked up at the sky with an incomparably serious expression. The pitch-black and thick tribulation cloud did not dissipate. Instead, it became denser and more terrifying. It was as if the pressure of a great cultivator was slowly spreading out from the vortex. Chapter 873. Why isn't the thunder tribulation over yet? Lu Xiao looked at the dark cloud vortex that was still nurturing the thunder tribulation and stammered. Xiao Hongfei's expression was already numb. The scenes that had appeared one after another in a short period of time had completely exceeded his understanding. In particular, the sixth thunder tribulation just now contained the essence of heaven and earth, which was almost close to the attack of a great cultivator. Not to mention the early nascent soul stage. Most of the mid-nascent soul stage powerhouses would not be able to take it head-on. Who knew that Lu Kuan, this freak, would actually forcibly disperse the huge destructive power of the sixth thunder tribulation? This was an attack against an attack, and not relying on lightning resistance for defense. This meant that Lu Kuan's own attack power had also reached the mid-nascent soul stage. This was under the condition that Lu Kuan's tribulation had not ended. Xiao Hongfei could not imagine how he did it. The powerful strength of the mid-nascent soul stage, coupled with lightning resistance, allowed Lu Kuan to withstand the sixth thunder tribulation that was comparable to a great cultivator's. Xiao Hongfei did not believe that the other disciples of the body refining pavilion had such freakish strength and lightning resistance. Even a gifted monster cultivator would very likely die in the face of the third thunder tribulation that contained the essence of heaven and earth, not to mention the later ones. According to the pattern of the previous thunder tribulation, there were probably 3 more thunder tribulations, which were definitely terrifying attacks of the great cultivator's level. If the thunder tribulation of a body cultivator was like this, even if Lu Kuan survived, no one else in the body cultivator lineage would be able to withstand the thunder tribulation. The body cultivator lineage would stop with Lu Kuan alone. What was the use of the body refinement technique that he created? Thinking of this, Xiao Hongfei could not help but be stunned. He vaguely grasped the main point and said with some disbelief, could it be that because Lu Kuan created the body cultivator lineage and became the first high-level body cultivator, the heavens sent down the 9-stage thunder tribulation to prevent the emergence of body cultivators? Hearing Xiao Hongfei's nonsense, Lu Xiao clenched his fists and his eyes flashed with indignation. He saw the scene of Lu Kuan bombarding the 6th thunder tribulation, which was definitely comparable to the mid-nascent soul stage. With such a strong powerhouse, they had hope of returning to Wei country and reclaiming the territory of the Yang clan. He must succeed in transcending the tribulation, Xiao Hongfei's face said with a pale face. If I'm not wrong, the 7th thunder tribulation is at the beginning. The 2nd thunder 7th tribulation is at the peak of the great cultivator's level. He pursed his dry lips. The power of a nascent soul at the level of a grand cultivator is incomparably dense, and it is already capable of triggering the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. If the tribulation clouds take the initiative to enhance the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, I'm afraid that it is close to the demigod stage. Even if Lu Kuan has lightning resistance. Lu Xiao suddenly thought of something and interrupted. Brother Xiao, that's not necessarily true. Lu Shidi still has a divine ability that he hasn't used yet. He might be able to resist it. Hearing this, Xiao Hongfei immediately thought of Lu Kuan's powerful divine ability that greatly increased the strength of his arms. But just as he was about to say something, Lu Kuan's voice came into his ears. Brother Xiao, senior brother Lu, Xiao Jin, and Shui have encountered other core formation cultivators outside the island. I'll have to trouble the 2 of you to go and help stop the other cultivators from entering the island and protect Lu. Feeling this powerful divine sense, Xiao Hongfei's heart trembled. He cupped his hands in Lu Kuan's direction and flew away with Lu Xiao, who had a worried expression on his face. In a corner of Demon Spirit Island, Corpse Priest stood on top of a yellow wooden coffin. This copper-armored corpse had changed a lot. The muscles wrapped around his body had become glossier, like metal. The color of his body had changed from black to gray. His fingernails were shining with a green luster, as if they contained some kind of poison. A few years ago, he had already absorbed the inner core of the razor-venomous scorpion. Unfortunately, for some unknown reason, his energy had been stuck at the peak of the copper-armored corpse level, unable to break through to the silver-armored corpse level. Not long ago, the terrifying aura of the lightning tribulation had awakened him. Seeing Lu Kuan resist the terrifying lightning tribulation with his body, Corpse Priest felt even more reverence in his heart. Suddenly, the bloodthirsty light in Corpse Priest's eyes shone brightly, as if he had received some kind of command. He rubbed his emerald green fingernails, and a gray light flashed, and he quickly disappeared. At the same time, Dahe, who was in the area of demonic chi, flicked his ears and glanced at the demon soul beside him. He stood still and looked at the 8th Spirit Valley with a worried expression. Lu Kuan floated in the air, wholeheartedly absorbing the pure energy of the 6th lightning tribulation. The silver energy in his body was quickly recovering. With his peak early nascent soul stage spiritual sense, he could barely cover the entire Demon Spirit Island with a radius of 50 miles. He sensed that Sher Chao and Shao Jin were fighting with 2 core formation cultivators outside the island. On the other side of the island, there was another cultivator with a strong concealment technique who wanted to sneak into the island. He didn't want to be disturbed by these people. Calming his mind, Lu Kuan raised his head and looked at the spinning tribulation clouds in the sky. His expression was somewhat heavy. His guess was the same as Xiao Hongfei's, but it was even more pessimistic. Lu Kuan faintly felt that his breakthrough seemed to have broken some kind of rule of human cultivators. It was because of this that this world was angered and wanted to kill him. Although he had passed the 6th lightning tribulation, the sense of crisis in his heart had become even stronger. Lu Kuan let out a deep breath and felt that the silver energy in his body had recovered. He clenched his fists and his eyes flashed with madness. So what if it's a 9-stage heavenly tribulation? You're hiding something, and I haven't used my full strength either. Let me, the owner of the body refining pavilion, Lu Kuan, break the rules of heaven and earth. As if it had heard Lu Kuan's shout, the tribulation clouds in the sky suddenly sped up. A pitch-black ball of lightning about 3 meters in size rolled down from the clouds. The huge destructive force made Lu Kuan feel horrified, even from far away. He seemed to recall the blood demon hand that old demon Pang used to grab him. The feeling of being unable to resist still lingered in his heart. As the ball of lightning slowly fell, a trace of heaven and earth yuan qi hidden in the depths of the surrounding spiritual energy was attracted and gathered towards the ball of lightning, wrapping it in a layer of purple halo. Lu Kuan looked at the ball of lightning that was moving slowly. His eyes suddenly lit up. The force field outside his body trembled slightly, and his body emitted threads of light. He rose into the air and actually took the initiative to meet the ball of lightning. His speed was much faster than the ball of lightning. In a few flashes, he was already 10 meters below the ball of lightning. A huge amount of chi and blood energy soared into the sky, and the silver energy in his bones surged in his arms. Thick blue veins coiled around Lu Kuan's arms like pythons. His muscles bulged like steel bars, and a terrifying strength filled his malevolent and deformed arms. Clenching his fists, which were larger than his head, Lu Kuan could even hear an ear-piercing explosive sound coming from the surrounding air. With his vital chi increased by 50%, that terrifying strength of 1,200,000 Jin would be able to bring about a strong wind as sharp as a blade with just a slight tremble. What I, Lu Kuan, need is not a barbaric exchange of blows, but survival. It's a good opportunity to test out the power of my physical body's origin power. After activating his arm, the force field around Lu Kuan's body quickly disappeared. Relying on his bone treasure, he flew through the air, and a silver energy surged rapidly in his body. His huge arm fists were aimed at the void above him, and he viciously released the enormous strength of his arm. Almost in an instant, the air around the black ball of lightning 8 meters away began to distort strangely. The wrinkled air seemed to form a pair of thick fists that smashed into the ball of lightning. In the face of such a terrifying attack, The surrounding air did not fluctuate in the slightest. This power did not leak out at all. The explosive power blasted into the black ball of lightning, causing it to tremble violently. Then Lu Kuan's hands formed into claws, and he tore at the void in front of him. 10 claw marks appeared out of thin air on the violently trembling black lightning ball. An invisible and terrifying brute force violently tore it in half, turning it into 2 smaller black lightning balls. At this time, the destructive power in the balls of lightning still existed. It seemed that Lu Kuan did not destroy them, but the destructive power and heaven-earth yuan qi in each ball of lightning had been divided into 2 parts. The balls of lightning seemed to feel a trace of uneasiness and wanted to speed up towards Lu Kuan. But at this time, Lu Kuan was incomparably excited. His 5 thick and long fingers closed, and his 2 claws turned into hand blades, and he slashed horizontally. The 2 balls of lightning that had already been divided into 2 seemed to have been cut in half by a terrifyingly sharp magic weapon. From 2 to 4, they were cut into 4 purplish-black balls of lightning. Each ball of lightning only had a quarter of its original power. In terms of pure power, it was less than the 6th lightning tribulation. After launching these 3 attacks, Lu Kuan quickly retracted the power of his arm. A distorted force field appeared once again in a 3 feet radius around his body. Lu Kuan's burly body exuded a treasure light, and he nimbly flashed in midair. He quickly collided with one of the balls of black plasma, and then his body turned into a phantom, dodging it. Under the support of the nascent soul-level energy, the speed of the bone treasure increased greatly, and Lu Kuan borrowed the power of the origin power of his physical body to accelerate his speed to the extreme. Compared to his previous speed on the ground, it was more than twice as fast. While Lu Kuan was moving, the black balls of lightning on his body, under the weakening of the lightning resistance, barely passed through the defense of his muscles. They were easily blocked by the bone treasure and turned into pure energy to make up for Lu Kuan's loss. The other 3 balls of lightning could not be faster than Lu Kuan in a short period of time, and immediately merged again. In the face of the greatly reduced power of the lightning balls, Lu Kuan did the same thing. With just 2 strikes of the power of his arm, he dispersed them again. Separating the 7th lightning tribulation and withstanding it one by one was equivalent to several lightning tribulations of the middle stage of the nascent soul stage. Although in the end, Lu Kuan's muscles were almost dry, the spirituality of the bone treasure was slightly damaged, and the silver energy in his body was still more than 50%. Lu Kuan absorbed the pure energy of the dissipated lightning tribulation, and his eyes flashed with an inexplicable color. Sure enough, as I expected, the origin power of the physical body can not only radiate power, but also allow the brute force of 1,000,000 kilograms to resist high-level energy. This is why I was able to split the 7th lightning tribulation and fully display the defensive power of the physical body. That's right, Lu Kuan's strongest point now was not his attack, but his defense. Not only did he have resistance to lightning, but the bone treasure was also fused with the silver dragon meteorite. In the face of the lightning tribulation, his defensive means were definitely not inferior to the late stage of the nascent soul stage. Lu Kuan felt the physical body's origin power field around his body, and his eyes flashed with a thoughtful color. There's a lot of room for the origin power of the physical body to be developed. Just the current power transfer and borrowing power from the void has caused my combat strength to soar and give birth to many changes. Moreover, the origin power of the physical body and the energy in the body have some kind of connection. He raised his head and looked at the lightning tribulation cloud. If it was the 8th lightning tribulation of a peak nascent soul stage cultivator with the strength of my arm, it would be difficult to split it. If it was the 9th lightning tribulation, it would be even more impossible. Lu Kuan pondered for a moment, and a light flashed from his body. He turned into a human-shaped magic treasure and shot toward the center of Demon Spirit Island. At the center of Demon Spirit Island was an artificial lake that Pan Yin had used an earth attribute magic to dig. However, Lu Kuan knew that at the bottom of this artificial lake was the restriction that connected to the Dead Sea Devil Cave. Below the restriction was the true demon pool. The lightning tribulation contained inconceivable power, and the restriction around Demon Spirit Island was almost broken by itself. Then, the restriction around the Dead Sea Devil Cave would definitely not be able to resist the lightning tribulation. With the true demon pool, Lu Kuan could use his strongest trump card, Heaven-Piercing Roar, Devil Ape Transformation. Chapter 874. A young man in a blue robe was crawling behind a rock. His eyes were filled with fear. His name was Feng Xiaobo, a core formation elder of the Spirit Transformation sect. Not long ago, he was passing by and unexpectedly discovered the thunder tribulation phenomenon in the chaotic ocean. The Spirit Transformation sect was a sect that specialized in taming spirit beasts, so he immediately recognized the fluctuations of the manifestation thunder tribulation. For demonic beasts, the manifestation thunder tribulation was extremely terrifying. The chances of passing it were extremely low. Most of the demonic beasts at the peak of the 7th level that tried to break through would fall under the thunder tribulation. Even if the demonic beast barely passed the thunder tribulation, it would be in a severely injured state. Only after digesting the life energy produced by the thunder tribulation would it be able to complete its transformation and transform into a human form, becoming an 8th level demonic cultivator comparable to a nascent soul stage cultivator. After Feng Xiaobo discovered the manifestation thunder tribulation, his heart almost exploded. He actually encountered a 7th level demonic beast in the chaotic ocean. This was simply a great opportunity. If this demonic beast failed its tribulation, the corpse of the 7th level demonic beast would be a great fortune. If it succeeded, Feng Xiaobo would have the opportunity to subdue the 8th level demonic beast that was in the process of transforming. But who would have thought that as soon as he entered the island, he would be scared silly by the thunder tribulation that was comparable to a grand cultivator before he even saw what kind of demonic beast was undergoing its tribulation? How can a manifestation thunder tribulation be so terrifying? Even the legendary true dragons and heavenly phoenixes wouldn't be able to withstand such a tribulation. Just as he was guessing in his heart, the huge tribulation cloud in the sky suddenly shrunk and spat out a huge purple-black ball of lightning. It was like a meteor from outer space that quickly smashed down. Perhaps because it was too fast, a thick layer of purple flames appeared around the ball of lightning. The spiritual energy on the island also became turbulent, as if it was afraid of the power of the thunder tribulation. The ball of lightning, surrounded by purple flames, directly blasted into the center of the island. After a few breaths of time, Feng Xiaobo felt the ground shake violently, as if the entire island was about to sink to the bottom of the sea. Suddenly, Feng Xiaobo's expression changed greatly. An aqua-blue shield emitting a blue light appeared behind him out of thin air. Clang! An ear-piercing sound was heard as the aqua-blue shield dimmed and was sent flying. A zombie emitting an intense cold aura appeared behind him. Top-grade copper-armored corpse. Feng Xiaobo was startled, but before he could do anything, the bronze-armored corpse's figure flashed, and it was already at his side. Its green claws were filled with a cold aura, and it tore at the mana's shield. CI. Due to the corrosive effect of the poison and the enormous brute force, Feng Xiaobo's middle core formation stage magic power shield was easily torn apart. But at this moment, a strange fluctuation suddenly appeared in the air. A layer of faint blue halo enveloped Feng Xiaobo's body. The bronze-armored corpse's sharp claws were instantly sent flying after hitting it. Feng Xiaobo was taken aback at first, but then he reacted. His body and the aqua-blue shield turned into a streak of light and shot out of the island. Priest Corpse swung his sharp claws, but didn't chase after Ji Hao. Instead, he raised his head and looked at the dark clouds in the sky, with a trace of fear flashing across his eyes. Above Demon's Spirit Island, the enormous tribulation cloud was collapsing inwards. Countless tiny bolts of lightning began to condense, emitting an oppressive aura. At the center of Demon's Spirit Island, the artificial lake had disappeared, and a 30-jean-wide hole appeared at the bottom. Dense demonic chi was gushing out from it. Below the hole, a dim jade skeleton sat cross-legged in the true devil pool. It was Lu Kuan, who had survived the 8th lightning tribulation. This lightning tribulation was beyond his expectations. It descended so fast that he couldn't react at all. He could only use his body's lightning resistance to resist it. The attack of a top-grade Great Cultivator was weakened by half by his lightning resistance, and its power was greatly reduced. In addition, Lu Kuan's jade skeleton had the silver dragon meteorite iron, which consumed a lot of the bone's spirituality. He barely managed to resist it. Fortunately, he had achieved his goal. The lightning tribulation's power easily shattered the restriction between the Dead Sea Devil Cave and Demon Spirit Island. Lu Kuan had the 5 elements Chaos Devil Bone, so the true devil intent was almost unaffected. He absorbed the water of true devil, and with the help of a large number of spirit stones in his ribs, the silver energy quickly recovered. As a majestic blood vitality surged, in just 100 breaths of time, Lu Kuan had completely restored his mortal body. Then, he continued to stimulate the silver energy, guiding the blood essence and true devil intent to rush towards his chest in a special trajectory. An inexplicably savage aura radiated out from his sternum. Accompanied by the creaking sound of bones, his muscles rapidly swelled up like twisted pythons, looking ferocious and terrifying. Black and thick hair even grew out of his skin. 10 feet, 20 feet, Lu Kuan's black demon ape form swelled to 30 feet tall. All of the water of true devil within the true devil pool had been absorbed by him. Lu Kuan let out a carefree groan. A steady stream of strength gushed out from his body, almost doubling to a full one. 6 million genes. With such a massive amount of strength concentrated in his body, just how terrifying was this? The silver energy trembled. The air within 6 feet of his body strangely twisted, and the powerful force field of his body's source strength doubled. At this moment, the tribulation clouds in the sky seemed to have sensed something and rapidly shrank. The demonic chi from the seabed and the spiritual chi from the sea kept pouring in. Rumble! An incomparably oppressive sound of thunder flashed, and a black lightning bolt that was thicker than a millstone slowly poked its head out. As it drilled out, the black tribulation cloud gradually dissipated, turning into a purplish-black halo that lingered around the lightning bolt. The air on Demon Spirit Island suddenly became incomparably thick, and a destructive aura filled dozens of miles. The cultivators outside the island had already stopped fighting and hid several miles away. Lu Kuan grinned. With a light leap, he jumped out of the cave and floated in midair. A hammer covered in demonic runes appeared in the 6-feet-long palm. It was about the size of a thumb. With the injection of the silver energy, not only the true devil intent, but also the aura of his body's source strength entered the hammer. In the previous battle, Lu Kuan had discovered that his body's source strength was attached to the silver energy. If he used it from a distance, the consumption of the silver energy would be astonishing. Since that was the case, he could inject the silver energy into the magic treasure. This way, the magic treasure could transmit his terrifying brute strength and unleash powerful long-range attacks with minimal consumption. Suddenly, the demonic runes on the hammer lit up, and a force field similar to his body's source strength emerged, twisting with a strange fluctuation. A dense black light gradually appeared outside the hammer, and a trace of the world's origin energy was released. Lu Kuan was stunned. He could clearly sense that the demonic chi hidden in the nearby demonic chi was attracted to the hammer and attached to the strange force field. The demonic artifact could actually support the world's origin energy. Lu Kuan was very excited. He waved his deformed and thick arm and smashed the hammer at the 9th tribulation lightning. The The demonic hammer was strengthened with a terrifying force of 1.6 million kilograms. Wherever it passed, ripples appeared in the air. In the blink of an eye, it collided with the ninth tribulation lightning. If the 400,000 kilograms of strength was equivalent to a mid-nascent soul cultivator's attack, then the 1.6 million kilograms of strength was comparable to a top-notch cultivator's attack power. Coupled with the trace of demonic chi surrounding the hammer, Lu Kuan's attack was almost as powerful as a top-notch cultivator's attack. The heaven hammer violently squeezed into the tribulation lightning. A terrifying force quickly erupted inside the lightning, scattering a small part of the thick lightning. Even the black halo outside dimmed a bit. However, after the explosion of power, the silver energy was exhausted, and the heaven hammer was sent flying by the tribulation lightning. Lu Kuan's eyes shone with a scorching light. After the physical body became the same origin, the power can be transmitted through the roar. Then, the heaven-piercing roar's sound wave power can also be transferred to the fist. Then he raised the demonic ape's arm high and smashed it at his chest. All of the true demonic intent in his body converged at his chest, and a vague black ape phantom appeared outside his body. Lu Kuan suppressed the urge to roar. The force field outside his body distorted, and the demonic ape phantom activated by the heaven-piercing roar was forcefully stuffed into his mouth by an invisible force. Lu Kuan's muscles, which were as large as a mountain, twisted as a strange power was transferred from his mouth. A layer of blurry black fist shadows appeared around his fists, and a shocking pressure spread out in all directions. Ha, I was right. Lu Kuan roared, and his huge body soared into the sky. His fist, which was bigger than a millstone, carried several fist phantoms as it crazily smashed toward the ninth tribulation lightning. Boom, boom, boom. With each bombardment of the black fist phantoms, the black halo outside the tribulation lightning dissipated at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, Lu Kuan's 3-meter-tall demonic ape body also shrank. In just a few breaths of time, Lu Kuan had blasted more than 20 punches, scattering all of the black halo of the tribulation lightning. In these few breaths of time, there was only a trace of silver left in his body, and his body returned to the body of a human. After losing the black halo, the power of the tribulation lightning was greatly reduced. After barely grinding away Lu Kuan's human skeleton form, it helplessly turned into a milky white liquid and sank into the bones. A strange life aura gradually emerged from the jade bones. Chapter 875. After this rich life energy entered the bone, Lu Kuan's soul seemed to have received some kind of nourishment and suddenly broke through some kind of boundary. Under the pressure of his divine sense, an invisible vortex storm appeared in the surrounding air. If there was a nascent soul cultivator here, they would be very surprised. This was a divine sense storm that only a mid-nascent soul cultivator could use. With the appearance of the divine sense storm, all the spiritual chi and remaining demonic chi in the center of Demon Spirit Island violently fluctuated and turned into vortexes that poured into the bone. The silver energy in the bone slowly recovered, and at the same time, it absorbed the life energy. The silver energy was the same as before. It needed to absorb demonic chi and spiritual chi at the same time. If it was in other places where spiritual chi and demonic chi were scarce, it would need spirit stones of the 5 attributes and demonic stones to recover. Just in terms of energy recovery, Lu Kuan's consumption of resources was probably far beyond that of ordinary nascent soul cultivators. As the silver energy gradually recovered, Lu Kuan began to use the flesh condensation technique. Flesh essence emerged from the bone treasure, and his body slowly recovered to its original state. At this time, Lu Kuan also felt that the silver energy had completely integrated with a unique life force. This life force was very strange. It gave him an incomparably exuberant feeling. It was completely different from blood essence. With a thought from Lu Kuan, this life force was very obedient. Under his control, it separated from his silver energy and naturally attached itself to the bone treasure. After the bone treasure received the life force, it felt a bit more lively. But at this moment, the silver energy in the bone trembled slightly and almost instantly separated into two energies, one black and one white. The source strength of his body also disappeared. Bang! After losing the source strength of his body, Lu Kuan directly fell from the air and smashed a small hole in the ground. Lu Kuan was covered in dust as he lay on the ground in a daze. The separated white energy was the primal chaos magic power that he had cultivated, while the black energy was the nether demonic power. The greedy aura of the blood essence and demonic power disappeared without a trace. When there was no life force, the silver energy also didn't separate. What is this? Before Lu Kuan could sense it, the two conflicting energies violently surged, and a destructive power rippled through the bone treasure. Lu Kuan didn't expect such a situation to happen. Hadn't mana and mana already fused? How could they be separated now? But then he guessed a possibility. With a thought, the life force in the bone treasure appeared again. The magic power and magic power that were quarreling calmed down as if they had met a peacemaker and quickly merged with the life force. The silver energy from before appeared once again, but it was slightly reduced. It seemed to be caused by the destruction of mana and magic. At this time, the origin power of his physical body appeared once again, and an invisible force field floated within 3 feet of his body. Lu Kuan looked a little excited. He quickly stood up and transferred the life force back and forth. He discovered that as long as the life force left the silver energy, the energy would automatically separate. The separated primal chaos magic power and nether demonic power were very pure. It was as if the two had never fused. The conflict was very fierce, producing a terrible destructive power. Lu Kuan suddenly understood something. Although the thunder tribulation wanted to destroy him, if he broke through, it would leave behind a life force condensed by the laws of heaven and earth. From the looks of it, this life force could allow the silver energy to change between two forms. One was the cultivation form, where the life force was separated. The silver energy turned into magic power and demonic power, and as long as there was enough spiritual energy and demonic power, Lu Kuan could continue to temper the bone treasure in this state. The other was the combat form, where the silver energy maintained the existence of the origin power of his physical body. With the origin power of his physical body, Lu Kuan could display his true fighting strength. This life force was simply the greatest gift. In Hong Yuntian's letter, it seems to have mentioned that the reason why the demon race's physical body is so strong is because their cultivation method is accompanied by a kind of demonic energy that exists in the flesh and blood to temper the body. The silver energy also has the same effect. At the same time, it also contains the 5 elements of the primal chaos magic power. It's better to call it primal chaos demonic energy. Lowering his head and pondering for a moment, Lu Kuan formed some kind of spell with both hands, but the demonic energy in his body did not respond. Then he chanted the simplest fireball spell in the cultivation world, but the demonic energy still did not respond. Lu Kuan was not surprised at all. When he was fighting against the thunder tribulation, he noticed it. His demonic energy was a combination of magic power and magic power, and it was compatible with his physical body. It had become a unique new energy, so naturally, he could not use the magic of the cultivation world. Then he operated the life force, transformed the demonic energy into a cultivation form, and used his blood to wrap the demonic energy to prevent the two from being destroyed. At the same time, he formed a spell, and a white true fire of magic power appeared in front of him. Feeling the strength of the true fire of magic power, Lu Kuan tried a few more spells. He found that even if he separated the demonic energy, the spells he cast were pitifully weak. At most, they were equivalent to the great circle of foundation establishment. In other words, after entering the new realm, body cultivators were completely out of touch with the magic of immortal cultivators. In a non-combat state, they could only cast spells below the core formation realm. Lu Kuan did not feel any disappointment. Instead, he felt that it was natural. With the original power of the physical body, the power of the physical body could completely resist the power of the nascent soul realm. What was the use of spells? He thought in his heart, this realm, for body cultivators, is almost a complete transformation. They are completely separated from traditional immortal cultivators. Traditional immortal cultivators cultivate to the nascent soul realm. With the nascent soul as the core, they produce the power of the nascent soul to cast powerful high-level spells and activate the top magic treasures. Body cultivators like us use bone treasures as the core, and the original power of the physical body is generated. With strength, we can break all spells. Lu Kuan clenched his fist, and an invisible force field rippled. He slowly said, "This realm, let's call it the bone transformation stage." He closed his eyes and continued to absorb spiritual energy and demonic energy to restore his demonic energy. At the same time, he felt the original power of the physical body in his body. In the process of transcending the tribulation, Lu Kuan relied on Relingan's lightning resistance, the bloodline of the long-armed demon ape, the silver dragon meteorite in the bone treasure, and the remaining water of the true demon in the Dead Sea Devil Cave to successfully transcend the tribulation. But the most important thing for transcending the tribulation was still the original power of the physical body. After resisting the lightning tribulation, he had a lot of understanding of the original power of the physical body. The original power of the physical body had two forms. One was passive and the other was active. Now, the force field within 3 feet of his body was the passive form. This passive force field could only be attached to 3 feet of his body. It allowed Lu Kuan to ignore the gravity of the earth. He did not need to cast any spells to stand in the void. At the same time, he could borrow power from the void within the range of the force field. In this void, in addition to being able to use all the power of the physical body, he could also quickly move and flash. His speed was much faster than on the ground. Back in the Yuan secret realm, the 2 top-level demonic zombies relied on the support of the original power of the physical body. They borrowed power from the void to greatly increase their running speed. As for the other form of the original power of the physical body, it was to use the power of the void from a distance. At this time, the passive force field would disappear. In the secret realm, when Lu Kuan was chased by the 2 demonic zombies, the surrounding air was incomparably thick, hindering his running. Clearly, the demonic zombies used the original power of the physical body to support the void around him. The 7th lightning tribulation just now was dispersed by Lu Kuan's long-range void power. However, the void power's range seemed to be limited to no more than 10 feet. However, the use of the original power of the physical body also required the demonic energy in the body to provide energy. The passive force field of the original power of the physical body did not consume too much demonic energy. However, the long-range void power was very different. Moreover, the greater the distance of the void power, the more demonic energy the demonic energy consumed. In addition, if he wanted to wear down the power of the nascent soul, the consumption of demonic energy would also increase greatly. For example, during the 6th lightning tribulation, Lu Kuan relied on his 400,000 kilograms of strength and his original power of the physical body to destroy the destructive power. After that, the demonic energy in his body was almost exhausted. Lu Kuan recalled the last part of the tribulation, the long-range bombardment of the Heaven Hammer and the diversion of the piercing sky roar. There were many more ways to use the original power of the physical body that he needed to discover. Chapter 876. Originally, I put in a section related to the work, but I found that I couldn't write about it there, so I moved it over. Unknowingly, 2 years have passed. To be honest, My original intention was to write because of my lack of books. I really wanted to read about body refinement and cultivation, but I didn't like those on the market. Most of them were pig trotters who cultivated a body refinement technique, and their combat power was off the charts. As for body refinement techniques, they were either obtained from killing people in dungeons for treasures or from old grandpas. However, no one wrote about how the first body refinement cultivator appeared or how the body refinement technique was created. In my opinion, body refinement cultivators were definitely different from traditional cultivators, and their cultivation systems were completely different. Those cultivators had dantians, meridians, golden cores, and nascent souls. They were so fragile that they could be crushed with a pinch. What use was there for them? True body refinement cultivators definitely didn't have golden cores or nascent souls. Unable to bear the itch, I started writing myself. I thought about the plot, deduced the body refinement system, and tried to write it. However, everyone can see the results of this book. It was almost terrible. I concluded that there were a few reasons. On one hand, it was because it was my first time writing a book, and the beginning was a bit rough. On the other hand, it was because this book was slow to get popular. Cultivation books were originally slow to get popular, and I was building a new cultivation system. Cough cough about that. Last year's update speed was a bit slow, so it will definitely improve this year. No matter how bad the results are, I just don't want to give up. In these 2 years of writing, I have been working hard. I was promoted a few times in the company, and my income also doubled. This way, no one will say that I don't do proper work. Everyone will only say that I have a unique hobby. With enough logistics, I won't give up on writing because of the poverty of life. So, fellow cultivators who follow the book, don't worry. I will definitely finish writing body refinement. Thank you, fellow cultivators who have been following me. If it weren't for your reviews, I wouldn't have confidence in myself. It's hard to satisfy everyone, so I hope that there are new cultivators who like this book. Now, the path of body refinement has officially come to an end. After the slow to get popular, you can read to your heart's content. No recommendation spots, no clicks, no exposure. I will blow up the silver gill myself. Next volume preview. The Rise of the Body Refining Pavilion. First, I set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, bookstore. Chapter 877. 5 kilometers away from Demon Spirit Island. Xiao Hongfei's group stood on the Silver Dragon flying boat. As for Xiao Jin, he had his eyes closed and his ears perked up as if he was listening to something. Not far ahead of them was a middle-aged man and woman. The man was as thin as a match, and the woman was fat. Their bodies were surging with mid-core formation demonic fluctuations. These two were the famous Tao and Li couple of the state of Qi's Western Prefecture. They were rogue cultivators and were core formation cultivators. When they passed by the state of Qi's border, they happened to see the terrifying phenomenon in the chaotic ocean. Thinking that a heaven-shaking treasure had appeared, they rushed over. After entering the chaotic ocean, they realized that it was a manifestation tribulation. However, they had never heard of such a terrifying, demonic cultivator tribulation. They hadn't even read about it in ancient records. Thus, they decided to investigate. They didn't expect that the mysterious island where the lightning tribulation appeared was the base of a certain sect. Several core formation cultivators had suddenly appeared. The female core formation cultivator they encountered at the beginning wasn't weak. She cultivated an isotribute cultivation technique and had 2 magic treasures that had been refined for many years. The grade 5 demonic ape wasn't simple either. However, the Tao and Li couple's strength was comparable to late core formation cultivators. If the battle continued, the woman and the beast wouldn't be their match. But soon, 2 more core formation cultivators appeared. One of them was a mid-core formation cultivator, so they were having a hard time. Just as the Tao and Li couple thought of retreating, they suddenly smelled a faint corpse aura. A gray light that was hard to see with the naked eye suddenly appeared behind them. Be careful! The Tao and Li couple were rogue cultivators for many years. They had always been vigilant. A small black knife shot out from each of their bodies and turned into two thin lines that shot backward like lightning. Xiaochao's eyes lit up. The glacial ice sword in front of her turned into two white lights and entered her arms. Her slender legs kicked off, and she shot forward like a magic treasure. With the support of the glacial ice sword, her forearm bones were equivalent to magic treasures. She flew forward with her body at an astonishing speed. The fat woman was startled. She hurriedly activated a jade scepter magic treasure on her body and added a layer of black halo outside the demonic barrier. This was a spiritual magic treasure that they had obtained with great difficulty. Even a late core formation cultivator wouldn't be able to break it. Xiaochao was only an early core formation cultivator. Even if she burst out with speed, her attack power was limited. These two layers of defense were enough. On the other hand, the gray light behind them, emitting a powerful aura, made them felt a strong sense of danger. Dang! A few beams of gray and green light flashed across the air. The two black, flying daggers were sent flying away, exposing Priest Corpse, a top-grade bronze shell zombie. Taking advantage of this gap, Zhao Shui had already arrived in front of the Taoli couple. Two frost swords appeared in her hands. She clasped her palms together, and the two swords merged. In an instant, they became a frost sword that exuded a terrifying power. Relying on the special ability of body cultivators, Zhao Shui was able to unleash the maximum power of the set of magical treasures. Boom! The Taoli couple only felt a shocking chill and a huge brute force coming from the greatsword. With one strike, the black halo around them dimmed a little, and that brute force even pushed them back. Corpse Priest was prepared. His claws were wrapped in a strong layer of cold power. Mixed with green light, they tore at the black halo outside their barrier. The Taoist couple's expression changed drastically. They quickly made a hand sign and controlled their magic treasures to block. They also tried to lock onto a certain treasure in their storage bags. However, Xiao Jin appeared on the other side of the two. The little ape's body was bigger than before. He puffed out his chest and took a deep breath. Squeak! An incomparably sharp sound wave, which did not contain any mana, brought along high-speed vibrations in the air. It pierced through the defensive barrier and pierced into their ears. Their fragile eardrums directly ruptured, and their brains began to churn. For a moment, their divine sense was broken. Xiao Jin's arms suddenly expanded. Spirit beast power wrapped around them, and a terrifying force of nearly 200,000 kilograms was released. The sharp claws of a top-grade bronze-armored corpse, Xiaochao's complete set of magic treasures, and Xiao Jin's arm power, which he learned during his bone treasure period. Under so many powerful attacks, the Taoist couple's two layers of defense collapsed almost instantly. Corpse Priest's sharp claws left a few afterimages as he dug out two faintly black gold cores from the Taoist couple's bodies. Then, their bodies were hacked into ice shards by the huge ice sword. Xiao Hongfei lowered his head, looked at the soundproof barrier that he specially cast, and smiled while shaking his head. Ordinary cultivators didn't know that this kind of pure sound wave of body cultivators could be easily blocked by soundproof barriers. Perhaps, when the fighting style of body cultivators was completely exposed, cultivators would have the habit of casting soundproof barriers. Once he packed up the storage bags, Xiao Jin suddenly became frightened. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Xiaochao and Xiao Jin had been together for so many years, so she could somewhat understand him. She frowned and said, "Senior brother, are there other cultivators coming?" Before Xiao Jin could continue to answer, an incomparably huge and irresistible divine sense descended from the sky. The magic power in everyone's body seemed to be somewhat suppressed. Everyone's expression changed. Only a nascent soul cultivator could make them feel this way. Tizkeske, a level 5 spirit beast, can actually discover my existence, and a top-grade bronze armor corpse. Looks like I'm quite lucky today. A dark green spirit light flashed, and an old man with a withered complexion slowly appeared in midair. His eyes shone as he looked at Xiao Jin and Corpse Priest. But then, He raised his eyebrows as if he sensed something. His eyes turned cold as he said, "Which fellow Taoist is hiding here? Why don't you come out and meet me?" In the next moment, an old man covered in a tricolored barrier appeared not far away. He didn't feel embarrassed at being called out at all. He chuckled and said, "Tu Tiansheng, how have you been?" Tu Tiansheng saw the old man's appearance clearly, and his face darkened slightly. He cupped his hands and said, "So, it's the famous Lord Taoist, 3 sons of the Scorching Sun sect. I didn't expect you to be near the chaotic ocean." Tu Tiansheng cursed in his heart. This Lord Taoist, 3 sons, was quite famous among nascent soul cultivators. This person's 3 sons' real fire had been cultivated to an extremely high level, and his magic power cultivation had also reached the peak of the early nascent soul stage. He had once beaten a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator until his nascent soul fled. Tu Tiansheng's cultivation method was a bit tricky. The power of his nascent soul was weak, and his magic power was far inferior to Lord Taoist 3 sons. Lord Taoist 3 sons didn't reply. A hint of disdain flashed across his eyes. Tu Tiansheng was the great elder of the Red Refinement sect. If it wasn't for his connection with the Blood Refinement sect, the Red Refinement sect would have been destroyed by the 10 great sects. Lord Taoist 3 sons looked at Yuxian on the silver dragon flying ship and said coldly, "An ant-like existence dares to touch my sect's mystical fire. You're courting death. Run," Cher Chao shouted. She connected her magic power with Xiao Hongfei and the others and urged the silver dragon flying ship to shoot towards Demon Spirit Island. With the core formation cultivators working together, the silver dragon flying ship speed was almost pushed to the limit. Lord Taoist 3 sons sneered. He waved his sleeve, and 5 small snakes formed by tricolored flames shot out. The surrounding air instantly became extremely hot. The 5 fire snakes intertwined with each other and were much faster than the silver dragon flying ship. Tu Tiansheng also attacked at the same time. A jade-green longsword flew out from his body and overtook the fire snakes. He himself also turned into a streak of light and chased after the silver dragon flying ship. Lord Taoist 3 sons frowned slightly. He was a little unhappy, but he didn't say anything and also flew away. The power of a nascent soul cultivator wasn't something a core formation cultivator could compare with. Tu Tiansheng's jade-green longsword flew for 1 or 2 miles and approached the silver dragon flying ship. The nascent soul power unique to nascent soul cultivators caused their magic power to shrink. The silver dragon flying ship's light dimmed, and their magic power shield became a little dim. At this moment, an inexplicable fluctuation appeared in the air. The jade-green longsword that was about to hit the silver dragon flying ship trembled slightly and suddenly stopped in mid-air. A muscular man wearing black armor appeared in the air unknowingly. His right hand was wrapped in a layer of silver light film. He held it with one hand, and the jade-green longsword 3 feet away seemed to be suppressed by a terrifying force and couldn't move. Tu Tiansheng's expression changed drastically. The appearance of this unfamiliar man was very sudden. His divine sense didn't detect anything. He hurriedly activated the nascent soul power in his body. In an instant, the jade-green long sword shone brightly and started to tremble violently. The muscular man's eyes were indifferent. He extended his hand and clenched it lightly. The pressure in the air became even stronger. The jade-green long sword let out a wail and floated towards him without any resistance. It was caught with one hand. Tu Tiansheng instantly felt that his magic treasure was being suppressed by multiple magic treasures of the same level. At the same time, it was being suppressed by a terrifying brute force. That feeling was as if he was facing a nascent soul mid-stage cultivator. At this moment, the 5 fire snakes that were flying suddenly fused into a cone-shaped flame. It shone brightly, and as if it had teleported, it wrapped around the muscular man's head. Tao Lord 3 Yang was very experienced in battle. We saw that this man didn't use his magic power to protect himself. He didn't hesitate to activate the teleportation ability of the fire of 3 Yang. As expected, it hit the man's head unexpectedly. A smile appeared on Tao Lord Three Yang's face. As long as the fire of Three Yang touched a nascent soul cultivator's magic body, it would definitely be burned to ashes. Back then, a nascent soul mid-stage cultivator fell for his trick. But in the next moment, Tao Lord Three Yang's smile froze. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The flesh on the muscular man's head and neck had all disappeared. Only his neck and his skull were left. The three-colored flame burned futilely, but the white, jade-like skull didn't even change its color. The man's empty eye sockets seemed to be flashing with mockery. The fire of Three Yang seemed to be suppressed by an invisible force and was forcibly gathered. It turned into a three-color fireball and landed in the muscular man's hand. Tao Lord Three Yang instantly felt a terrifying brute force suppressing the three-colored fireball. This made him feel incredulous. Mystical flames were different from magic treasures. They didn't have a physical body. How could they be restrained by pure force? This was completely beyond his understanding. Seeing that the muscular man didn't make a move, Tao Lord Three Yang calmed himself down and tried his best to maintain a calm tone. He clasped his hands and said, "I am Tao Lord Three Yang from the Blazing Inferno sect. May I know your name?" The muscles on the muscular man's head popped out from his bones. The muscles wriggled as he smiled hideously. The owner of the body refining pavilion, Lu Kuan. Chapter 878. Lord Taoist Three Yang was stunned. The Scorching Sun sect had been established in the Chu country for tens of thousands of years. He even had an impression of the ancient sects in the Chu country. However, he had never heard of the Body Refining Pavilion. Body Refining Pavilion? Is it a sect that cultivates the physical body? That should be right. This guy named Lu Kuan has a ridiculously strong physical body. Not only did he use his head to withstand the burning of the fire of Three Yang, but he could also recover quickly. It's as if he has an indestructible body. Tu Tianqing's expression changed slightly when he heard the name Body Refining Pavilion. He suddenly remembered that the Devil's Den that Tian Renjia was looking for was in the Dead Sea not far away. All the disciples of the Red Refining sect in the Devil's Den were dead. Even Tian Renjia was missing. However, this sect called Body Refining Pavilion was hidden in the chaotic sea. The physical body of the person in front of them could be said to be terrifying. His disciples must be people with vigorous qi and blood. They were the archenemy of their red, refining devil technique. Could it be that the Body Refining Pavilion did it? Lu Kuan looked at the expressions of the two, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. A layer of invisible force field suddenly appeared outside his body. A terrifying pressure that was completely different from the power of the nascent soul stage spread in the air. Everyone present, including the two nascent soul stage cultivators, felt their bodies tremble as if they had encountered a terrifying natural enemy. Suddenly, there was an explosion in the air. Lu Kuan's entire body shot toward Tu Tianqing. Due to his fast speed, there was an ear-piercing explosion. Tu Tianqing's expression changed drastically. He quickly took out a broken jade talisman and stuck it on his body. A thick layer of yellow spiritual light wrapped around him, emitting a shocking fluctuation. In just a short while, Lu Kuan had already arrived beside Tu Tianqing. He clenched his left hand into a fist. The fire of Three Yang was tightly bound on the surface of his fist by the original power of his physical body. His right hand gripped Tu Tianqing's dark green sword. As the artifact trembled with grief, it turned into streaks of sword light that rained down like a storm. Lu Kuan's attack was incredibly shocking. The air around him was distorted by the immense power, but due to the restrictions of his physical body's source energy, not a single trace of its power leaked out. At this moment, Tu Tianqing felt as if he was being besieged by several nascent soul middle stage cultivators. Every attack contained a strange force that caused the nascent soul power in his body to tremble. For a moment, he was actually unable to summon his mana. In just a breath's time, Tu Tianqing's thick yellow spirit light and his magic power shield were completely shattered, and the broken jade talisman was broken. With a flash of spiritual light, Tu Tianqing's nascent soul, wrapped in the storage bag, disappeared into his body and reappeared 70 to 80 feet away. This was the special teleportation ability of the nascent soul. If a nascent soul cultivator relied on this ability, even if they were defeated, it would be very difficult to kill them. The speed of the nascent soul's continuous teleportation was more than twice as fast as an ordinary escape light. Tu Tianqing's nascent soul's small eyes were filled with resentment. He didn't expect the owner of the body refining pavilion to have such a shocking ability. His combat style was even more unheard of. His conjured physique was almost blasted apart in the blink of an eye. Damn it, without my natal magic treasure, even if I take over his body, my strength will be greatly reduced. A thought flashed through his mind. He activated his spell and continued to use his teleportation technique. But at this moment, Tu Tianqing suddenly felt an endless and terrifying force coming from the surrounding void. It squeezed the area around his nascent soul, and the air suddenly became viscous. His teleportation ability couldn't be activated. What kind of ability is this? Ah, fellow Taoist, please spare my life. In the next moment, the terrifying force in the void directly crushed his fragile, nascent soul. A huge amount of spiritual energy overflowed and turned into a spiritual energy vortex that returned to heaven and earth. The storage bag was grabbed by an invisible force and floated towards Lu Kuan. Just as Tu Tianqing's nascent soul dissipated, the three suns supreme in the distance was enveloped by a huge flame. His entire body turned into a fiery escape light and shot into the distance. The three suns supreme was scared out of his wits when he saw Lu Kuan kill Tu Tianqing with a raise of his hand. What a joke! A body that couldn't be burned by the deviant fire, a speed that was as fast as a magic treasure, a storm-like attack, and a divine ability that could stop a nascent soul from teleporting. How was he supposed to fight against him? Lu Kuan coldly snorted. A surge of chaotic, demonic energy was forcefully injected into the aquamarine longsword in his hand. A layer of invisible force field appeared outside of it. Then, his right arm swelled up and turned into a deformed giant arm. Lu Kuan suddenly threw Tu Tianqing's longsword magic treasure into the distance. With the support of 1,200,000 pounds of brute force and the source strength of his body, the longsword's speed was extremely fast. The sharp sound of it breaking through the air was extremely ear-piercing. Then his entire body shone brightly. His legs trembled, and a sonic boom exploded on the spot. Like a human-shaped magic treasure, he shot into the distance. After entering the bone transformation realm, although his demonic energy couldn't be used to fly, he could still use his bone treasure. The bone treasure's flying ability coupled with the void's power made him much faster than the three suns supreme's escape light. The aquamarine longsword speed was even faster. In the blink of an eye, it caught up with the three suns supreme's escape light. Boom! With a loud sound, the three suns supreme's flaming escape light was directly hit by the aquamarine longsword. A terrifying circular wave radiated in all directions. The seawater below was pressed down by an invisible force, creating a huge crater. The flaming escape light scattered in all directions. A small fiery red round shield flickered with intense, tricolored flames. It blocked in front of the three suns supreme. The nascent soul power in his body was tumbling. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. He seemed to have been injured. The aquamarine longsword was enveloped by an invisible force field. Its spiritual light was very dim. In just a breath's time, the demonic energy within it was completely exhausted. The source strength of his body also completely dissipated. Then, the longsword was bounced off the small shield. Seeing this, the three suns supreme didn't have the slightest bit of joy. His face was pale. His hands quickly formed a seal. The nascent soul power and the fire of three suns in his body produced a strange fluctuation. Lu Kuan's tall and sturdy figure appeared in front of the three suns supreme like a huge shadow. His two large fists emitted a blinding silver light, as they came crashing down. At this moment, the fire of 3 suns on his fists suddenly exploded, causing his body to stagger. The flesh on his fists exploded, revealing the white bones of his hands. The 3 Suns Supreme took advantage of this gap. The tricolored flames around his body shone brightly. He disappeared on the spot and instantly appeared 10 feet away. Lu Kuan's reaction wasn't slow. He grasped the air with one hand, and 400,000 kilograms of void power surged out. A huge brute force immediately appeared in the air and squeezed inwards. A resolute look flashed across the 3 Yang Supreme's eyes. The nascent soul power in his body was reduced by a large amount. A tricolored halo suddenly exploded, and an incomparably high temperature burned the air, greatly reducing the power of the void. The 3 Sun Supreme's face lit up with joy. He hurriedly used a secret technique to teleport away. With an even more terrifying speed, he fled into the distance. Lu Kuan felt the sparse demon qi in his body. His eyes flashed with a trace of amazement. The strange flame is indeed powerful. This person's strength is probably comparable to the mid-nascent soul stage. Lu Kuan didn't continue chasing. He had just broken through to the bone transformation stage. In this short period of time, his demon qi hadn't recovered much. He took the dark green long sword into his hand and looked at the dim spiritual light. He said with some regret, "The demonic energy and physical origin power are too domineering. A cultivator's magic treasure can't withstand it at all. This magic treasure can be considered destroyed." Then he took out a big hammer with dim demonic patterns. It was the heaven hammer that helped him pass through the last tribulation. He didn't know if the power of the tribulation was too strong, but this demonic weapon was completely destroyed. If he had attacked with the heaven hammer, the 3 Sun Supreme wouldn't have been able to block it so easily. A bone transformation stage weapon is completely different from a traditional cultivator's. It's best to refine it with a reference to a demonic weapon. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan felt a headache. After the energy in his body turned into demon qi, not to mention the nascent soul stage true fire, even the core formation stage true fire couldn't be used. His refining technique also needed to be improved. Putting away his weapon, Lu Kuan turned around and flew back to Demon Spirit Island. After the body cultivator's lightning tribulation, all the cultivators within hundreds of miles could sense it. Demon Spirit Island was no longer safe. Moreover, after the tribulation, the ancient restrictions on Demon Spirit Island were completely destroyed. The spiritual energy would gradually mix with demonic and demonic energy, making it impossible to use as a sex base. Bone Treasure Stage body cultivators start to use demonic energy. Bone Transformation Stage body cultivators need even more demonic energy. Only a place filled with demonic energy and spiritual energy is suitable for the body refining pavilion. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a cold light. He already had a suitable place in his mind. That was the Cloud Ridge Mountain where the miraculous gate was located. First, he set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, book pavilion. Chapter 879. There was a cloud in the sky above Demon Spirit Island that was covered in a layer of faint blue light. On top of the cloud stood a man and a woman. The cloud wasn't too high above the sea, but strangely, Lu Kuan and Xiao Jin didn't notice their existence. This man was none other than Feng Xiaobo, a core formation stage elder of the spirit transforming sect, who had escaped from Priest Corpse earlier. He slightly bent his waist, respectfully standing behind the chubby, middle-aged woman. Feng Xiaobo's eyes flashed with fear. If it wasn't for the legendary ancestor, he would have been killed by the top-grade bronze armored corpse. He wouldn't have had the chance to escape. Looking at the middle-aged woman beside him, Feng Xiaobo felt a little excited. This ancestor liked to mingle with Foundation establishment disciples. She had stayed in Abyss Island for so many years, never coming out. He didn't expect her to come out this time. Could it be that the ancestor planned to officially come out and develop Spirit Transformation Sect? The middle-aged woman ignored Feng Xiaobo's excited expression and murmured, It's actually a supernatural power that only demon kings can have. The owner of the body refining pavilion, Lu Kuan, what the Yuan school can do, this kid did. Back in Abyss City, I faintly felt that he had some kind of demon king bloodline, but I didn't expect it to be the famous long-armed demon ape bloodline. Her expression was indescribable. It wasn't clear if she was talking to Feng Xiaobo or herself. It said that the demon race completed their transformation and transformed from a beast into a human form. They broke away from the restrictions of the beast's meridians and were able to use the techniques of cultivators. That's why the transformation lightning tribulation occurred. Now, this kid's transformation completely broke the restrictions of the weak body of cultivators. That's why he triggered such a terrifying lightning tribulation. She raised her head and looked at the sky. Could it be that the will of the heavens has brought a glimmer of hope to the human race? Feng Xiaobo was a little confused. They were dozens of miles away in the sky, and he couldn't see the scene below with his divine sense. However, he could feel the terrifying power contained in the last lightning tribulation. Perhaps even a ninth-grade demon cultivator couldn't resist it. But for what the ancestors said, it wasn't a demon beast that underwent the tribulation, but a human body refining pavilion. Could it be that he was an immortal cultivator who cultivated his physical body and used his physical body to resist the lightning tribulation? As Feng Xiaobo's thoughts ran wild, he did not dare to question this old ancestor. The middle-aged woman was silent for a moment. Then she took out a palm-sized green turtle shell that looked like a fossil. She slowly said, "Xiaobo, go back and inform Yuan to transfer the core disciples away. They must all leave Chu within half a year." Feng Xiaobo was stunned and said in horror, "Ancestor, could it be that a disciple of the sect has offended you and angered you?" "You?" The middle-aged woman tossed the fossilized turtle shell over and sighed. "My lifespan is coming to an end. I only have about 10 years left. The monsters in the outer seas are getting restless. They will most likely invade the Chu country. With the strength of the 10 great sects of Chu, they won't be able to hold on for long." Feng Xiaobo was shocked. "Old ancestor, you are living in symbiosis with the Black Tortoise Demon King. Your lifespan is sufficient. How could—" The middle-aged woman's eyes flashed with a trace of guilt. "It has already been 30,000 years. Even if the Black Tortoise Demon King's lifespan is astonishing, after living in symbiosis with me, his lifespan will be greatly reduced. Moreover, I have lived enough for so many years." She continued, "The techniques of the spirit transformation sect are all related to monsters. With the help of the monster's spiritual energy, we can increase our cultivation. We also have secret techniques to enslave, transform monsters. Our techniques are the biggest threat to the monsters. After the monsters invade, they will first destroy our spirit transformation sect. You should hurry and leave. Give this artifact to Yuan. She knows what to do." Feng Xiaobo's eyes flashed with unwillingness. He took the turtle shell artifact and hesitated for a moment. "But ancestor, for so many years, the transformed monsters of the 8th level and above have been hiding in the outer seas and are difficult to capture. Our spirit transformation sect has declined. The highest cultivation is only at the peak of the core formation stage. If the monsters invade, won't our chance come?" The middle-aged woman said indifferently, "Without me in the spirit transformation sect, do you think our techniques and secret techniques can still be preserved?" Feng Xiaobo was stunned, then shook his head with a bitter smile and put the turtle shell artifact into a storage bag. "If the monsters invade the Chu country, then a large number of high-level monsters will appear. Since the ancestor is no longer here, the spirit transformation sect's powerful techniques that can enslave, transform monsters, and use their spiritual energy to break through will definitely be coveted by the 10 great sections." The middle-aged woman said again, "All right. How have you all been getting along with the treasure tool pavilion these years?" Feng Xiaobo was surprised. He didn't know why the forefather would ask about this, but he answered honestly, "Forefather, since you've ordered us to do our best to cooperate with the treasure tool pavilion, their refining skills are indeed superb, and the overall strength of our sect has increased a little. The Treasure Tool Pavilion's Zhu Xiaofeng also has a good relationship with us. The middle-aged woman nodded, her eyes filled with reminiscence. Duoqiao's personality is very similar to mine when I was young. I also did it on a whim. Now it seems that I have given the spirit transformation sect a way out. Seeing that Feng Xiaobo was confused, the middle-aged woman waved her hand and said, "Okay, you can go back. Yuana knows what to do." "Yes, ancestor." Feng Xiaobo was wrapped in the middle-aged woman's blue light and flew towards the land, leaving the middle-aged woman alone on the cloud in a daze. The middle-aged woman looked at the demon spirit island below, as if she could see Lu Kuan from afar. She shook her head and sighed. With the nature of the cultivators fighting among themselves, the body refining pavilion won't be able to develop so easily. If the Great Zhou country's sects find out about the body refining technique, they will definitely try to seize it. It is said that the space cracks of the devil race have changed. Without the help of the demon race, the immortal cultivators are no match for the devil race. This cultivation method of cultivating the body is simply a life-saving straw for those sections. She then looked in the direction of the outer sea with a complicated look in her eyes. Back then, the cultivators relied on the help of the demon clan to defeat the devil clan. However, after the Yuan sect and the top demon cultivators ascended, the cultivators plotted against the demon clan. The cycle of karma. I have been in charge for 30,000 years, and I have done my best. Then she muttered a few more words, and with a flash of blue light, she disappeared. 100 miles away, the Three-Yong Supreme, who was wrapped in the flame light, finally breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that no one was chasing after him. The dim, three-colored flame returned to his body, and he swallowed a few recovery pills. His face was a little ruddy. The Three-Yong Supreme rejoiced in his heart. If he hadn't released the power of the strange flame, which greatly increased the power of the strange flame, he wouldn't have been able to break free from the terrifying power in the void. The fire teleportation technique he used not only consumed a lot of nascent soul power, but also overdrew the strange flame's power. He would need to cultivate in seclusion for several years to recover. The Three-Yong Supreme recalled the previous battle with lingering fear, as if he had walked on the edge of death. Although Tu Tianqing's strength was weak, he was still a nascent soul cultivator. He didn't expect that he would be killed so easily like a dog. Even his nascent soul couldn't escape. He had never heard of such a fierce attack. Thinking of the scene where he took the attack head-on, he swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and his heart was still beating violently. This brute force is too terrifying. Even Tu Tianqing's magic treasure has the attack power of the peak of the middle stage of the nascent soul realm. If I didn't have the power of the strange fire and the crimson fire shield, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to withstand this attack. The body of the owner of the body refining pavilion is definitely stronger than that of a level 9 monster cultivator. What kind of cultivation method can allow a cultivator's body to be cultivated to such a level? What kind of strength does his disciple have? By the way, what's with the terrifying thunder tribulation? Does he have a top-level spirit beast? No, the body refining pavilion is so powerful. I have to report it to my senior brother. Chapter 880. Of course, Lu Kuan didn't know that a mysterious person had been secretly observing him since the 9th tribulation. He even recognized the divine ability of the origin power of his physical body. At this time, he was sitting cross-legged beside the pit in the center of the island, using the remaining demonic energy and spiritual energy to restore the chaos energy in his body. The Dead Sea Devil Cave's devil pool had completely dried up. The little monkey was holding a mining shovel and a storage bag around his neck as he dug the floor of the Devil Cave. The Thunder Tribulation had broken the Dead Sea Devil Cave's barrier and Monster Spirit Island's barrier. It seemed that some kind of change had occurred in the entire chaotic sea. The spiritual energy and demonic energy in Monster Spirit Island had gradually begun to mix. According to Lu Kuan's knowledge, Monster Spirit Island's Great Array was the 9-revolution devil-breaking array of the Yuan school. At this time, the devil pool had dried up and the Great Array had completed its mission. In addition to the array being broken, the chaotic sea would calm down in a few hundred years. However, what puzzled Lu Kuan was that the Yuan secret realm's true devil pool was used to produce pure, true devil water. The true devil pool of the Qi state's 3 great devil sects hadn't been destroyed. But why did the Chu state's chaotic sea's true devil pool be destroyed by the Yuan school? Wasn't it better to use it to develop their devil sects? These thoughts flashed through Lu Kuan's mind. He focused his mind and restored his magic energy, perceiving the situation of his body. After entering the bone transformation realm, the body's cells had become the same origin. Power could be transmitted throughout the body. For example, the power of the body could be transformed into sound waves. In addition to the sharp sound, it also contained a terrifying power. In addition to transmitting power, Lu Kuan noticed that the origin of the body had another special effect, and that was the assimilation of the body's strength. In other words, the powerful essence of a mature bone treasure would subtly influence the tendons and organs. It could even make the latter reach the level of a bone treasure. Although he didn't know how long this process would last, it had already pointed Lu Kuan in the direction of cultivation. His future cultivation was to accelerate this process. According to his experience in body refining, the first step was to make his tendons reach the level of a bone treasure. Now, his tendons were no different from ordinary magic treasures, causing his muscles and skin to be incomparably tough. If his tendons reached the level of a mature magic treasure, his body's strength would increase. As for how his organs and blood would be assimilated by the bone treasure cells, he wasn't sure yet. But from the looks of it, the bone transformation realm was very likely to reach the level of body assimilation, reaching the true fusion. Flesh and bone. As for the future, Lu Kuan still had no idea. However, after the fusion of life force, the demon energy in his body could already temper his bone treasure. After the fusion of bone and flesh, the tempering of bone treasure was equivalent to the tempering of the whole body. His body would definitely continue to improve. The biggest problem now was cultivation resources. In an area where spirit qi and demonic qi did not coexist, Lu Kuan could only use demonic stones and spirit stones to recover and cultivate. The consumption was too great, and even with his status, he could not afford it. Therefore, Lu Kuan wanted to make a move on the Miraculous Gate as soon as possible. The Miraculous Gate was located in the Cloud Ridge Mountains, which was filled with pure devil qi and spirit qi. There was even a true devil pool there. It was such a waste for the Miraculous Gate to use such a precious place. The Yunling Mountains should belong to the body refining pavilion. Lu Kuan had accumulated a lot of power. After passing the 9 layers of heavenly tribulation, he had entered a new realm of body cultivator. Not only had his lifespan greatly increased, his strength had also increased by several folds. He was able to kill an early nascent soul cultivator like Tu Tiansheng with a wave of his hand. According to Lu Kuan's assessment of his strength, his attack power had reached the middle stage of the nascent soul realm. His physical body's defensive power was even more astonishing. In a short period of time, even a great cultivator would find it difficult to injure him. If he used the power of his arms, he could definitely fight against a great cultivator. In addition, Lu Kuan was still not proficient in using the origin power of his physical body. There was still a lot of room for improvement in his combat power. As for the Miraculous Gate's Grand Elder, Shi Jingtian, although he had entered the late stage of the nascent soul realm, he had been severely injured by Old Demon Pang and was in a weakened state. As long as they planned well, they would have a great chance. Everyone else on the Demon Spirit Island was busy. Xiao Hongfei and the others were packing up everything on the island. The Demon Spirit Island was no longer safe and needed to be evacuated quickly. Sher Chao and the others took away the Black Mountain Apes and the Demon Spirit Wood. If they could return to the Wei Kingdom's Lu province, then the Spirit Illumination Mountains would be the best place for the Black Mountain Apes to stay. After half a day, everyone had packed up everything. Xiao Jin had also turned the Dead Sea Devil Cave upside down and obtained more than 40,000 Devil Stones. Xiao Hongfei and the others left first and met up with Zhu Xiaofeng and Qin Yushu from the Treasure Pavilion. They told Lu Kuan the good news of his breakthrough and agreed to meet everyone at a new place. Sher Chao and the others rushed back to the warriors' holy city under Lu Kuan's orders. They ordered all the disciples to disguise themselves as ordinary warriors and migrate to the Chu Kingdom's Eastern Pool province. The biggest difference between the disciples of the body refining pavilion and the immortal cultivators was that the cultivation techniques they practiced were very different. The immortal cultivators' magic power detection techniques could not detect the physical body's magic power at all. If a large number of immortal cultivators came to the chaotic sea to investigate because of the heaven and earth thunder tribulation phenomenon, they would only look for immortal cultivators and would not pay attention to mortal warriors at all. After Lu Kuan recovered some of his magic power, he also left with them. From Tu Tianqing's storage bag, he knew that this guy was actually a nascent soul stage cultivator of the Red Refining Sect. After Tu Tianqing died, the Red Refining Sect was like an unguarded beauty, tempting Lu Kuan. Not to mention other things, just the large amount of blood coagulation grass inside was a necessity for their body refining pavilion. If Lu Kuan's guess about the sternum tool spirit root could be realized, then the blood coagulation grass would be even more important. Only by carving a spirit-controlling array on the body could it make up for the lack of spirit-controlling array of the tool spirit root. Before the body cultivator broke through the bone treasure stage, if he used the blood coagulation grass to carve a spirit-controlling array on the bones, it would be easier to control the spirit power, condense the core, and melt the bones. In addition, he was also very interested in the Oath Stone of the Red Refining Sect. As for the relationship between the Red Refining Sect and the Blood Refining Sect, the 10 major sects of the Chu country may not know, but he knew very well that this sect was just a bait placed in the Chu country by the Blood Refining Sect to lure the Demon King soul. In addition, Old Monster Pang was dead, and the Blood Refining Sect was in a period of internal power replacement. How could they care about the life and death of the Red Refining Sect? Lu Kuan had no scruples at all. A day later, many Qi refining disciples of the Red Refining Sect were horrified to find that all the blood coagulation grass spiritual fields had become a big pit, not to mention the disappearance of the blood coagulation grass of various years. Even the spiritual soil had been dug away. The strange thing was that no one came to blame them. They didn't even see any Foundation establishment disciples. Even the deacon of the mission hall had disappeared. The panicked Qi refining disciples searched everywhere in the valley of the Red Refining Sect. As a result, they found that the restriction of the cultivation technique pavilion and the elixir room had been broken. The cultivation technique and elixir inside had disappeared. It was as if a robber had robbed their Red Refining Sect. At this time, everyone was in a panic. The Red Refining Sect was a sect with a nascent soul stage ancestor. Why was the sect robbed and the Foundation establishment disciples disappeared? These elders didn't react at all. Some people guessed that the sect had changed. The nascent soul stage elders had all evacuated with the core disciples and savings. The Qi refining disciples were abandoned. After another half a day, all the Qi refining disciples suddenly found that the restriction of the Oath Stone in their souls had dissipated. They were stunned at first, and then quickly packed up their things. Whether the sect was robbed or the old ancestor evacuated with the core disciples. Without the oath restriction, they were free. If they didn't leave now, when would they leave? Some vicious disciples took this opportunity to attack their fellow disciples. Some people ran in the valley to search for the resources that the sect might leave behind. For a time, the valley of the Red Refining Sect was in chaos. A few days later, all the major sects of the Chu state received a very shocking news. In addition to some Qi refining stage disciples, the Red Refining Sect, from the Yuanying stage ancestors to the Foundation establishment stage disciples, were slaughtered, and the entire Red Refining Valley was empty. There were rumors among the cultivators that this was done by the monster cultivator. The previous strange phenomenon in the Sea of Chaos was the thunder tribulation of several level 7 monsters. Because the nascent soul stage ancestors of the Red Refining Sect went to destroy it, these monster cultivators destroyed the Red Refining Sect in anger. There were also cultivators who said that it was done by several nascent soul stage seniors who had a grudge against the Red Refining Sect. The entire Chu State's immortal cultivation world suddenly became lively because of the destruction of the Red Refining Sect. First, set a small goal, such as 1 second. Remember, Bookhouse. Chapter 881. In the sky above the cloud prefecture of the Chu country, a silver spirit shuttle was flying rapidly. 2 men were standing on it. One of them was extremely burly, and the air around his body was slightly distorted, emitting a terrifying pressure. The other person had a delicate appearance and was controlling the spirit shuttle. These 2 people were Lu Kuan and his 4th disciple, Yu Xian. After Lu Kuan swept through the valley of the Red Refining Sect, he set off with Yu Xian. The other disciples of the body refining pavilion scattered and hurried on their way in the secular city. At this time, Lu Kuan clenched one of his hands, and a 4-colored flame floated above his palm. This flame seemed to be torn by some kind of force, and it changed into various forms. Sometimes it was a square, sometimes it was a ball, and sometimes it was a triangle. Yu Xian stared at this flame without blinking. This was obtained by him, Sher Chao, and Xiao Jin when they ambushed Ouyangla and killed this intermediate core formation stage powerhouse who had a strange flame. Seeing Lu Kuan tearing the strange flame, Yu Xian couldn't help but ask, "Master, is this strange flame under the tracking spell of the 3 Yang Supreme?" Lu Kuan shook his head. "I didn't find anything strange. It should be because of the fire of 3 Yang itself, which made the 3 Yang Supreme feel it. After all, the fire of 3 Yang in that old guy's body is much stronger." Yu Xian was a little worried. "Then I can't use the strange flame to break through?" Lu Kuan snorted. "Although I can't use the spells of the immortal cultivators, the power of the demonic energy is not something that can be understood by the immortal cultivators." As he spoke, a silver energy surged out of his palm and wrapped around the 4-colored flame. The flame immediately trembled violently, and waves of violent fluctuations surged out. In a few breaths, the 4-colored flame was divided into 2, turning into a 3-colored flame and a dark red flame. Lu Kuan revealed a knowing look. Although the primal chaos demonic energy was very gentle in his body, that was only relative to a body cultivator. In reality, this energy was extremely violent. When he was dealing with 3 Yang Supreme, he had injected his devil energy into 2 Tiansheng's natal magic treasure, causing the internal formation of this nascent soul magic treasure to be completely destroyed. Later, he sneaked into the Red Refining Sect to see if his demonic energy could refine the Oath Stone. Who knew that after his demonic energy entered, the restrictions inside were like magic treasures and were shattered into pieces. This characteristic of demon energy seemed to be a combination of the devouring power of Qi and blood demon energy and the destructive power of Dharma energy. Compared to the Dharma energy of immortal cultivators, it was extremely overbearing, as if it could destroy everything. Lu Kuan felt that his chaotic demonic energy was definitely more powerful than the demonic energy in the bodies of demons. If it was injected into the body of an immortal cultivator, its overbearing characteristics would probably directly destroy the weak dantian of the immortal cultivator. Under the impact of the demonic energy, this 4-colored flame was reduced to the fire of 3 Yang and the primal Yang, earthly fire. Lu Kuan raised his palm and wrapped the dark red primal Yang, earthly fire with the power of the void. He suspended it in front of Yu Xian. This is the primal Yang, earthly fire. It doesn't have the aura of the fire of 3 Yang, and its power is much weaker. It's just right for you. Yu Xian quickly took out a special red jade bottle and stored the primal Yang, earthly fire in it. Her eyes were filled with joy. He only had a 3-star physique. With the deviant fire, he could try to use the deviant fire to condense the core and increase the chances of condensing the core and melting the bones. Lu Kuan used his demonic energy to wrap the fire of 3 yang into a small silver ball, isolating all the aura. He then wrapped it in a stone box made of spirit extinguishing or before putting it away. He looked at the happy Yuxian with a hint of approval in his eyes. He had looked up the deviant fire to condense the core after killing the Taoist pre-sky fire. However, he had already entered the treasure bone stage and did not have a gold core in his body, so he did not take it to heart. Now that he thought about it carefully, this secret technique was indeed very helpful for the primal fire body tempering art. The deviant fire to condense the core was a bold guess made by a senior. The deviant fire was different from the immortal cultivator spells. It was a powerful flame with spirituality. Even the weakest deviant fire required a core formation stage cultivation to completely refine it. This secret technique could allow a false core formation stage immortal cultivator to start refining the deviant fire and temporarily integrate it into their magic power. This would greatly increase the purity of their magic power. The deviant fire that had not been completely refined had its own spirituality. Naturally, it would not be willing to be scattered into the magic power. It instinctively wanted to leave the magic power and condense back into the form of the deviant fire. A false core formation stage immortal cultivator would take this opportunity to try to condense the gold core. With the support of the deviant fire, not only would the magic power be easily crystallized, but with the help of the deviant fire's ability to restore itself, the difficulty of condensing the gold core would be greatly reduced. Although it was much easier to condense the gold core, the deviant fire would completely restore itself the moment the gold core was condensed. The cultivator had to seize the opportunity and use the magic power of the gold core to completely refine the deviant fire the moment it was restored. If the immortal cultivator was not careful, the deviant fire would explode in the dantian and burn the body to death. This could be said to be a method of breaking through from the brink of death. However, the weakness of the deviant fire to condense the core was completely different for a body cultivator. Immortal cultivators condensed the gold core in the dantian, while body cultivators condensed the gold core and melted the bones. One was the fragile dantian, while the other was the incomparably hard and shockingly strong bones. Even if Yuxian did not seize the opportunity to refine the deviant fire when she successfully condensed the gold core and melted the bones, with the strength of a body cultivator's bones, she would definitely be able to resist the deviant fire for a short period of time. She would have enough time to use the magic power of the bone treasure stage to refine the deviant fire. Zhao Qingtian used the 10 poisons as one to increase the chances of condensing the gold core and melting the bones. Yuxian relied on the deviant fire secret technique. Sher Chao used Wang Ruobing's frost sword to fuse the magic treasure into her arm bones and used it as the core to condense the gold core and melted the bones. It could be said that each of Lu Kuan's disciples had walked their own path. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan suddenly asked, Yuxian, did Little Yun really go to the Heavenly Sword sect? Yuxian said with a strange expression, Yes, Master. Junior apprentice brother said that his demonic gold body is also an excellent talent for practicing the sword Dao cultivation method. Maybe he can learn from the Heavenly Sword sect's sword cultivation core formation method. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with anger. He coldly snorted and said, Huang Xiaoyun, this stinking brat, doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He hasn't reached the bone treasure stage and can't use the bone concealing technique. What if he is discovered? Yuxian saw that his master was so angry and secretly worried for Huang Xiaoyan. After a while, Lu Kuan slowly said, Yuxian, change direction. Go to the Heavenly Sword sect. Yuxian said in surprise, Master. Lu Kuan waved his hand and said, Master has something to discuss with the great elder of the Heavenly Sword sect. I'll bring this brat back while I'm at it. Okay. Tell me about the current situation of the body refining pavilion. Yuxian was stunned for a moment, then said excitedly, Master, among the first-generation disciples, eldest senior apprentice brother, second senior apprentice brother, and third senior apprentice sister have all entered the bone treasure stage. Little Yun and I have also reached the great completion of body tempering. With the help of a large amount of poison, we could try to break through in 10 years. Little Yan's skin is rough and his flesh is thick, so the effect of the poison is not as good. I'm afraid it will take more than 20 years. Lu Kuan nodded gently. Pan, Yin had the body of solid earth and practiced the Yuan earth body refining technique. Even the defense of his internal organs was amazing. It was more time-consuming to recultivate his internal organs. Yu Xian looked excited and continued. Among the second-generation disciples, the youngest, Duan Yiyun, also entered the bone-tempering stage not long ago. Now our body refining pavilion has a total of 17 bone-tempering stage body cultivators. Lu Kuan's expression changed, and he interrupted. How many people failed to break through? Yu Xian's eyes dimmed slightly. 6 people died. Lu Kuan said slowly. The probability of breaking through is already very high. The will and determination of martial artists to pursue the realm are much stronger than ordinary immortal cultivators. By the way, what about the mortal martial artists? Yu Xian said, there are 233 martial artists who have reached the great completion of the Vajra mantra. Among them, 183 have spirit-controlling celestial artifacts. Their combat power is completely equivalent to that of an immortal cultivator in the middle or late stage of chi refinement. There are even more martial artists who have not reached the great completion. There are more than 400 people. These people are very young. Sooner or later, they will also enter the great completion of the Vajra mantra. Lu Kuan looked in the direction of Wei Kingdom and muttered, this is far from enough. First set a small goal, such as 1 second. Remember, book guest residence. Chapter 882. Bluestone Town was located in the eastern Pool province of Chu Country. It was a small town for mortals near the land of death. 20 miles to the west of the town was a mountain range where the disciples of the body refining pavilion gathered temporarily. The spirit energy here was less abundant than in other provinces. Lu Kuan flew above the land of death, feeling the dense, cold energy. He sighed with emotion. The land of death had a deep connection with him. More than 100 years ago, with the help of the cold energy and the thunder fall spell, he built his foundation for the second time. He built a solid foundation for his body, and his strength skyrocketed. From his current point of view, his strength of 50,000 gene, which far exceeded that of an ordinary body cultivator, was most likely related to his long-armed demon ape bloodline other than the fact that he had recultivated. When he returned to the land of death again, he was already at the bone treasure level. By chance, he found the broken defensive formation of the one-line sky and harvested priest corpse, the mutated flying ant, and the pupa of the blade scorpion. The land of death extended all the way north to the abyss of death in the Qi Kingdom. According to Lu Kuan's guess, the razor venomous scorpion and the ant with a terrifying divine sense had entered the Yuan secret realm through the abyss of death. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan paused. Priest Corpse's figure appeared beside him. After absorbing the inner core of the blade scorpion, this bronze shell corpse improved to the top level. That blade scorpion was a level 9 dark insect, equivalent to the middle level of the nascent soul level. Its cold energy was extremely dense. Priest Corpse actually improved by a small level. What kind of conditions would it take for Priest Corpse to break the bottleneck and become a silver shell zombie? If he had the help of a silver shell zombie, who was as powerful as a nascent soul stage being, Lu Kuan would be more confident about the following series of plans. Pondering for a while, he suddenly took out a black stone box. After opening it layer by layer, a small piece of blood crystal appeared in his hand. Deep inside the crystal, there were a few beams of bright green light. It was Bai Yonkai's nascent soul power. Lu Kuan slightly flicked his finger and swallowed Priest Corpse. Soon, That pair of blood-red eyes of Priest Corpse sparkled with a bright light, as a strong desire was sent out from his mind. Lu Kuan scanned across Priest Corpse's body with his great spirit power, sensing the slight changes of the cold power, while pondering. Devouring the spirit blood of powerful beings is the instinct of zombies. I didn't think that the cold power inside Priest Corpse's body could also devour these few streams of nascent soul power. Does Priest Corpse have to devour the whole nascent soul to break into the level of Silver Shell Corpse? The more Lu Kuan thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. When he was in Old Devil Pang's cave, he saw Qian Jingshan's devil zombie avatar directly reach the middle stage nascent soul stage after devouring Old Devil Pang's nascent soul. Then, he revealed a vexed expression. Previously, when he killed Tu Qiansheng, he didn't control his physical body's origin power well and directly crushed his nascent soul. The power of the void is squeezing from all directions. Although it can restrict the teleportation of nascent souls, it's too violent. If I'm not careful, I might crush the nascent soul. If I twist the force field of the void into a few whirlpools and create a great suction force, I wonder if I can control the nascent soul. While thinking about how to use his physical body's origin power, Lu Kuan put Priest Corpse back into his rib bone. A great amount of early nascent soul stage devil power gushed into the bone treasure and darted towards the Heavenly Sword sect. On top of the Heavenly Sword mountain, 2 nascent soul stage elders of the Heavenly Sword sect were sitting in a pavilion. A pot of wine and 2 wine cups were placed on the stone table. The dark-skinned, average-looking middle-aged man was the current head elder of the Heavenly Sword sect, Yu Longfei, a very famous middle-stage nascent soul stage sword cultivator in the few neighboring countries. The other man had half white hair and a pair of eye-catching sword-shaped eyebrows. He was a powerful nascent soul stage cultivator from the Heavenly Sword sect 100 years ago, Dugu Feng. Yu Longfei took a sip of the wine in his cup and asked, "Junior Marshal Brother, how's the investigation on that matter going?" Dugu Feng said, "Senior Marshal Brother, I've received accurate information. Li Wan of the Miraculous Gate failed to break through to the nascent soul stage. However, she didn't die from her core shattering. Relying on the uniqueness of her spiritual body, she barely maintained her core formation stage cultivation." He picked up his wine cup and said with some emotion, "The spiritual body naturally contains spiritual qi. The chances of her forming her nascent soul are definitely much higher than mine." "I didn't expect," Yu Longfei sneered. "Junior Marshal Brother, I'm afraid it's not that simple." Dugu Feng was stunned. "Senior Marshal Brother, do you think Li Wan is pretending? Secretly forming her nascent soul in other countries?" Yu Longfei shook his head and said, "The Miraculous Gate is already the strongest sect in the Wei country. There's no need to hide. I guess Li Wan has already lost her spiritual qi, which greatly reduced the chances of her breaking through." Dugu Feng seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed. "Senior Marshal Brother, do you mean that Li Wan's spiritual qi was taken away by the other nascent soul stage elders of the Miraculous Gate to break through?" Yu Longfei continued, "Decades ago, I met Yu Lianxing of the Miraculous Gate. That guy had already reached the peak of the nascent soul stage. You have to know that the bottleneck of the nascent soul stage is extremely difficult. Yu Lianxing wouldn't let go of Li Wan's spiritual qi. For the Miraculous Gate, the value of 1 nascent soul stage cultivator in the middle stage is higher than 2 nascent soul stage cultivators in the early stage." Dugu Feng drank the wine in his cup, and his expression turned ugly. "That is to say, the Miraculous Gate has 2 nascent soul stage cultivators in the middle stage." Yu Longfei's eyes flashed with fear. It has been more than 100 years since the Yang clan was destroyed. Sure, Jingtian has been staying in seclusion. I suspect that he has already entered the advanced stage of the nascent soul stage." Dugu Feng was shocked. "It can't be. How can the bottleneck of a nascent soul stage cultivator be broken through so easily?" Yu Longfei poured another 2 cups of wine. Shi Jingtian cultivates the demonic spirit chaos technique. According to the records of the seniors in the sect, this technique can stimulate the cultivation of demonic power through the stimulation of spiritual energy. That's why the miraculous gate is located in the Yunling Mountains, a place where demonic spiritual energy is mixed. Shi Jingtian has spent so much time and effort to obtain so many resources. If he still hasn't broken through by now, it would be a failure. Dugu Feng suddenly felt that the wine in his cup was tasteless. He put down the cup and said worriedly, "If old Devil Shi enters the advanced stage of the nascent soul stage, and Yu Lianxing reaches the intermediate stage of the nascent soul stage, will the miraculous gate attack us?" Yu Longfei closed his eyes and seemed to be savoring the taste of the wine in his mouth. He slowly said, "Looking at the time, old Devil Li of the Qingyang sect is about to die. This means that the Green Alliance only has one nascent soul stage cultivator left. Even if the miraculous gate wants to attack, it will take down the Green Alliance first." Dugu Feng's expression changed. The Green Alliance's strength has weakened and the sense of danger has increased. "Senior brother, can we take this opportunity to swallow them up?" Just as Yu Longfei was about to say something, the sound of a sword rang out from his body. It was very sudden on the sky sword peak. His face darkened, and he said, "Which Taoist friend is visiting the Sky Sword sect? Why don't you come out and meet me?" As he spoke, an extremely bright golden sword chi shot out from Yu Longfei's body and into the void not far away. This sword chi contained an extremely terrifying sharpness, as if it could tear through everything. A burly man with short hair appeared in midair. He looked at the sword chi, and the corner of his mouth curled up. The air in front of him suddenly twisted, and a terrifying power stirred, forming an invisible whirlpool. The golden sword chi trembled slightly and wanted to go around the whirlpool. However, a terrifying suction force came from the whirlpool and forcefully sucked it in. This powerful golden sword chi was then crushed by this strange, invisible whirlpool. It turned into specks of spiritual light and dissipated in the air. Chapter 883. Yu Longfei's pupils contracted slightly. His sword aura looked like it was casually released, but it was actually a powerful sword aura nurtured within his natal magic sword. Its power was no less than the attack of his magic treasure. However, the burly man in front of him did not rely on any magic treasure. He cast a strange whirlpool without any magic power and easily destroyed the sword aura. His ability was truly amazing. He definitely had the strength of a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator. Furthermore, there was a powerful sky restriction seal around the heavenly sword peak. Even if it was him, it would be very difficult for him to fly in the air without any restriction talismans. This person floated in mid-air as if he was light. The sky restriction seal did not have any effect on him at all. It was as if he was weightless. He probably relied on this ability to easily sneak into the heavenly sword peak. Lu Kuan looked at the two people who were on guard. He squeezed out a kind smile and cupped his hands. "The owner of the body refining pavilion, Lu Kuan, greets the two of you. I have a reason to visit you secretly. Please forgive me." Yu Longfei stood up. His body emitted a terrifying sharp aura. The unique pressure of a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator spread out. He said coldly, "Forgive me for my ignorance. I have never heard of the body refining pavilion. May I know why Master Lu has to visit you secretly?" Dugu Feng also locked onto his natal magic sword and looked at the man in front of him cautiously. He did not know if it was an illusion, but he seemed to have seen this Master Lu before. Lu Kuan slowly landed on the ground and smiled. "The body refining pavilion is a newly established sect. Naturally, the two of you have not heard of it. However, Lu was once a disciple of the Yang clan." When Dugu Feng heard this, the memory in his mind suddenly became clear. He blurted out, "You are Lu Kuan from the Yang clan's weapon refining peak." Then, he shook his head violently and revealed a look of disbelief. "Impossible. When the Yang clan was destroyed, Lu Kuan of the Weapon Refining Peak was only at the early stage of the Foundation Establishment stage. It has only been 100 years. How could your cultivation? Yu Longfei stared blankly. He had never heard of Lu Kuan. He only knew that a few foundation-building disciples of the Yang clan had escaped. Master Lu's supernatural powers are astonishing, so he wouldn't lie about being a low-level cultivator. However, the name of this body-refining pavilion doesn't seem to have anything to do with the inheritance of the Yang clan. Lu Kuan didn't answer directly. Instead, he looked at Dugu Feng and said, "Since Taoist Dugu recognizes me, you should know about Lu's fighting style, right?" Dugu Feng nodded lightly. He indeed had an impression of Lu Kuan. When he was at the Foundation Establishment stage, he relied on martial arts techniques and magic tools to fight. He was like an immortal cultivator, and his physical body was much stronger than that of ordinary Foundation Establishment stage cultivators. When he thought of this, Dugu Feng's expression became startled. He said with some hesitation, "Could it be that the Body Refining Pavilion is a sect that specializes in cultivating the physical body?" Lu Kuan crossed his arms in front of his chest. His loose robe couldn't hide the strong muscles on his arms and chest. He said proudly, "That's right. Lu created his own body refining technique, established the Body Refining Pavilion, and founded the Body Refining Immortal Cultivator lineage. The other disciples founded the Treasure Pavilion. They truly inherited the inheritance of the Yang clan." As he spoke, his mid-nascent soul stage divine sense emanated from his body. A distorted force field appeared around his body. His physical body origin, Qi, radiated a strange pressure that immortal cultivators had never encountered before. Yu Longfei's divine sense wasn't too bad. However, the strange pressure from physical body origin, Qi, caused them to feel a burst of fear. Goosebumps appeared on their skin, as if their physical body had encountered a natural enemy. The two of them subconsciously activated their magic power shields. Only then did this feeling gradually fade away. They glanced at each other, their expressions incomparably shocked. Creating one's own cultivation technique was already incomparably difficult, and body-refining immortal cultivators were even more unheard of. The difficulty of creating one's own cultivation technique was probably as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, the strange pressure that seemed to be directed at one's physical body, as well as that strong physique, caused Yu Longfei and Dugu Feng to unconsciously believe it. If this was true, then this Master Lu was 200 years old. Not only did he create his own cultivation technique, but his cultivation had also entered the nascent soul stage. He could no longer be described as overflowing with talent. He simply had the demeanor of an ancestor. After a while, Yu Longfei recovered. He said, "I didn't think that Master Lu would establish his own sect. I don't know what business you have with this visit. If it is within my power, I will definitely help." Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a cold light. Lu's cultivation has been successful, and he has formed his own force. Naturally, he wants to find the miraculous gate for revenge and take back Lu province. This visit is to join forces with the Heavenly Sword sect and destroy the miraculous gate. When Yu Longfei heard that Lu Kuan was once a disciple of the Yang clan, he had some guesses. His eyes flashed as he said, "Forgive me for speaking bluntly, but the miraculous gate's strength is incomparably strong. Moreover, it has an alliance with the blood-refining sect. Even two Heavenly Sword sects would not be a match for the Miraculous Gate. Moreover, the Miraculous Gate is in Lu Province, while my Heavenly Sword sect is in Song Province. The two sects are far apart, and there is no conflict of interest. Master Lu has probably found a wrong person." Lu Kuan shook his head. "For immortal cultivators, cultivation resources are enough to create a conflict of interest. Fellow Taoist Yu, Song Province's spirit Qi is already weaker than the other provinces. If the Heavenly Sword sect can occupy half of Zhong Province, the increase in strength will not be small. The war between the sects is also an opportunity for the disciples. The two of you will also have the opportunity to kill other nascent soul stage cultivators. He saw that Yu Longfei was unmoved, so he continued. As for the blood refining sect, there is no need to worry. The alliance between the two sects is already vague, and the blood refining sect is even more preoccupied with their own affairs. There is no need to worry. Yu Longfei raised his eyebrows and said, Master Lu, why do you say that? Do you know about the blood refining sect? Lu Kuan paused and said in a dull tone, Old Demon Pang of the blood refining sect has fallen. What? Old Demon Pang is dead? Yu Longfei and Dugu Feng's expressions changed. Old Demon Pang's ferocious aura was monstrous, and he was a top expert among the nascent soul stage cultivators. There were no nascent soul stage old monsters in the nearby immortal cultivation countries who did not know of Old Demon Pang's name. Such a terrifying expert was actually dead. Lu Kuan said again, although the blood refining sect is trying their best to hide it, they won't be able to hide it for long. When the time comes, the Qi Kingdom's Seven Fiends sect and the Yin-Yang sect will most likely take action. Under such circumstances, why would the blood refining sect interfere with the Wei Kingdom's affairs? Yu Longfei could not help but ask, since the blood refining sect is trying their best to hide it, how did Master Lu know? Lu Kuan smiled mysteriously and said, Daoist you don't have to ask about the source of the news. Other than that, I also know that Old Demon Sure has entered the late nascent soul stage and has become a nascent soul stage cultivator. Without waiting for Yu Longfei and the others to speak, Lu Kuan continued. However, Old Demon Sure is seriously injured. I'm afraid he won't be able to fight for the next few years. Now is the best time to deal with the miraculous gate. Old Demon Sure has entered the late nascent soul stage. Seriously injured. Yu Longfei and Dugafeng were dumbfounded. The news brought by Lu Kuan was so shocking that they even suspected that it was fabricated. After a while, Yu Longfei said in a deep voice, These are only Master Lu's side of the story. I find it hard to believe. Even if Shi Jingtian is seriously injured, he is still a nascent soul stage cultivator. His divine abilities are not something a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator can compare to. Lu Kuan smiled and said, Lu is only here to have a preliminary discussion with the two of you. You can inquire about the news and see if what Lu said is true. As for Old Demon Sure, the two of you do not have to worry. That old guy will naturally be dealt with by Lu. Yu Longfei and Dugu Feng couldn't help but look at each other. If what Lu Kuan said was true, this was the time when the miraculous gate was weak. If Old Demon Sure was restrained and the blood refining sect didn't intervene, they might have a chance. Yu Longfei pondered for a moment and cupped his hands. I didn't expect Master Lu to have the strength to face a great nascent soul stage cultivator. I am not talented, but I would like to try Master Lu's divine abilities. Lu Kuan revealed an as expected expression and nodded. Lu would also like to spar with Daoist Yu and experience the strength of the Wei Nation's #1 sword cultivator. However, we'd better choose another place. If the battle fluctuations spread out, I'm afraid it would arouse the suspicion of the miraculous gate. Yu Longfei pondered for a moment and said, Only the Sword Valley behind our sect's mountain can conceal the battle fluctuations of a nascent soul stage cultivator. However, the Sword Valley is densely covered with restrictions. If Master Lu is alone, Lu Kuan waved his hand and said indifferently, Then please lead the way, Daoist Yu. Lu believes that the two of you won't take the opportunity to attack me. Yu Longfei's mouth twitched. He didn't believe this nonsense. If he casually believed others, he might not even be able to cultivate to the core formation stage. In other words, this Master Lu was very confident in his own strength and believed that the two of them wouldn't be a threat to him even if they borrowed the power of the Sword Valley's restrictions. Chapter 884. In the north of the Sky Sword Peak, there was a small valley with a radius of more than 10 miles. This place was shrouded in fog all year round. It was the forbidden area of the Sky Sword sect, the Valley of Swords. Every 50 years, the Sky Sword sect would hold a competition for Foundation Establishment cultivators. The top 3 disciples could enter the Valley of Swords for 7 days. It was said that in the Valley of Swords, Foundation Establishment sword cultivators had a certain chance of comprehending sword intent. This was an attribute that would only appear after condensing a sword core. If a Foundation Establishment cultivator could cultivate sword intent, then the chances of condensing a sword core would greatly increase. After forming the core, their attack power would be stronger than ordinary sword cultivators. Every time the Great Sect Tournament, the Heavenly Sword Sect's Foundation Establishment disciples would fight for these 3 spots. On this day, Lu Kuan and the other 2 appeared above the clouds of the Valley of Swords. Their position was a bit strange. Du Gufeng was at the bottom, floating above the clouds. He was chanting and holding a disc in his hand. Lu Kuan and Yu Longfei were about 10 feet away from each other. They were talking in the air and seemed to be quite happy. After a cup of tea's time, the clouds above the Valley of Swords opened up an entrance. Then the 3 of them seemed to have discussed it. Du Gufeng flew in first, Lu Kuan followed closely behind, and Yu Longfei went in last. After Lu Kuan passed through the clouds, he didn't even have time to observe his surroundings before he felt a sharp sensation in his face. Even with his immense divine sense, he still felt a slight stab of pain. Lu Kuan's expression changed slightly. He quickly scanned with his divine sense and found that the sharpness filled the entire Valley of Swords. It was not Du Gufeng's doing. This made Lu Kuan a little surprised. He could be said to have come into contact with this kind of special intent many times. Back in the Spirit Demon Valley in Lu Province, the demonic aura there contained a frenzied will. After soaking in the true demon pool, he had experienced the brutal will of the true demon. From Hong Yuntian's letter, he had learned about the bloodthirsty will of the nether demon power. These 3 kinds of thoughts were extremely fierce. If a cultivator encountered them, their consciousness would be greatly impacted and they would lose themselves. If he didn't have the divine sense concealment ability, he was afraid that his consciousness would go crazy and he would die in the Spirit Demon Valley. However, this sharpness was different. Although it directly affected the soul, it was very gentle and did not seem to attack the consciousness of the cultivator. Aside from this sharpness, Lu Kuan also found that the heaven and earth origin energy that only great cultivators could use was several times denser here than on Demon Spirit Island. He relied on the 5 elements Chaos Demon Bone to sense the existence of heaven and earth Yuan Qi. He didn't know if Yu Longfei and the others knew about this. Lu Kuan shook his head and flew towards the center of the valley. At the same time, he used his divine sense to look around. The Sword Valley was very spacious, and there were only some scattered plants growing on the walls. They were covered in a powerful restriction halo, which should be the herbs that the Heavenly Sword Sect had planted in the Sword Valley. In addition, there were only sword marks of various sizes left in the Sword Valley. The sharpness that filled the valley was emitted from these marks. The restriction that enveloped the entire Sword Valley seemed to be related to the sharpness of the sword here. It was similar to the demonic chi restriction in the Spirit Demon Valley. As for the place where they came in, it should be the only gap in the restriction that was covered by the Heavenly Sword Sect. Yu Longfei looked at Lu Kuan, who was looking around, and smiled. Our sect Sword Valley is very simple and crude. Master Lu, please excuse us. Lu Kuan landed on the ground and shook his head. Fellow Yu is too modest. This place is filled with a dense sharpness. I'm afraid it's very beneficial for sword cultivators. The Heavenly Sword Sect has always stayed in Tsang Province because of the Sword Valley. Yu Longfei nodded. That's right. However, the Tsang Province's spirit chi is relatively barren and it's close to the land of death. My Heavenly Sword Sect is barely able to keep this foundation. Lu Kuan enticed. If the Heavenly Sword Sect had more resources, the speed of development would definitely be very different. Yu Longfei laughed. After chatting for so long, we almost forgot about the proper business. Master Lu, let's begin. Lu Kuan raised his eyebrows and said, just comparing notes is a bit boring. How about we add some stakes and make a bet? Bet? Lu Kuan said. Lu heard that the Heavenly Sword Sex cultivation method is very unique. The condensed sword core will contain sword intent in one's mana, greatly increasing one's attack power. If Lu wins by chance, I hope fellow Taoist can teach me the method to condense sword core. If Lu loses, then I can let fellow Taoist you take a look at the body refinement immortal cultivation method to the core formation stage. Hearing this, Yu Longfei's face darkened. Master Lu thinks too highly of his own body refinement immortal cultivation method. The method to condense sword core was perfected by our sex countless generations of seniors. How can it be casually used as a wager? Lu Kuan sighed. Lu has been rude. Then let's begin. Yu Longfei's face was solemn. A sword light flashed, and a large brass sword appeared in front of him. It was different from normal long swords. This sword was about 5 feet long and 1 foot wide. It was extremely huge. This sword was called the Heavenly Fault Sword. It was passed down to him by the previous Heavenly Sword Sex Grand Elder through a secret technique. After being refined by 2 generations of nascent soul stage cultivators, it finally reached the level of maturity. Other than its shocking power, it was also full of spirituality. Previously, the Heavenly Fault Sword let out a sword cry as a warning because it sensed an even stronger magic treasure. Yu Longfei was wary of Lu Kuan. It was not only because of Lu Kuan's other divine abilities, but also because this person had a magic treasure that was even stronger than the Heavenly Fault Sword. Yu Longfei's hands quickly formed hand seals. Waves of golden sword chi surged out from the Heavenly Fault Sword and attached to the surface of a large sword. In a few breaths' time, the Heavenly Fault Sword was enveloped by a thick layer of golden light. It turned into a large golden sword that was more than 3 feet long. A terrifying pressure spread out. Lu Kuan revealed a shocked expression. The power released by this attack was much stronger than 2 Tianqing's. The power of the nascent soul stage contained within was extremely sharp. Even though he was dozens of feet away, he could feel the heart-palpitating, bone-piercing intent. When Yu Longfei saw Lu Kuan crossing his arms in front of his chest and sizing up the Heavenly Fault Sword without summoning his magic treasure, an undetectable strange color flashed across the depths of his eyes. He waved his hand. The large golden sword brought along a rolling, whistling sound as it shot forward. Its speed was not any slower than an ordinary magic sword. It blasted towards Lu Kuan's seemingly tiny body. Buzz, a dull, vibrating sound was heard. Yu Longfei could not help but widen his eyes. Dugu Feng, who was watching the battle, was also stunned. Lu Kuan's entire body was covered by a layer of silver light film. His relatively tiny hands were tightly holding onto the tip of the large golden sword. His hands looked a little blurry and seemed to be vibrating at an extremely fast speed. Yu Longfei felt that the large golden sword was blocked by a tyrannical force and was unable to move forward. The golden sword chi outside was also affected by an inexplicable vibrating force, as if it was about to fall apart. The owner of the body refining pavilion actually used his palms to withstand the terrifying attack of a mid-stage nascent soul stage cultivator. His palms were also vibrating with a strange power that wanted to disperse the large golden sword. Yu Longfei's eyes flashed with astonishment. Impossible! Even a level 9 demon cultivator would not dare to take this attack head-on. The silver film on his palms is extremely dazzling. I understand now. He condensed the terrifying defense of the silver film to block this attack. The silver film on the other parts of his body must be weak. Yu Longfei's mind moved. The large golden sword suddenly turned into nearly 100 golden sword chi and blasted towards Lu Kuan's body from all directions. His large sword technique contained 2 layers of magical powers. First, he condensed the sword chi on the Heavenly Fault Sword and turned it into a large golden sword, greatly increasing its attack power. During the duration of the large sword technique, the sword chi would absorb the Dharma treasure power of the heavenly fault sword and could be used unexpectedly. Every sword chi contained a trace of nascent soul stage power and Dharma treasure power. No mid-stage nascent soul stage Dharma power shield could withstand the bombardment of hundreds of terrifying sword lights. As expected, in just 2 breaths of time, the silver membrane outside Lu Kuan's body was shattered by the golden sword chi that filled the sky. At the same time, the heavenly fault sword's treasure light shone brightly and fiercely smashed towards Lu Kuan's head. Yulongfei's eyes were cold. Spar? Bet? What a joke. Life and death in a battle often happened in an instant, especially in a battle between nascent soul stage cultivators. Facing him, the #1 sword cultivator in Wei Nation, this guy did not use his Dharma treasure. He could not blame others if he was killed accidentally. Within the restrictions of the Valley of Swords, the nascent soul could not escape. As long as Yulongfei searched the nascent soul, you would be able to easily obtain any body-tempering immortal cultivation technique or information about Old Devil Pang and Old Devil Sure. Chapter 885. Slap. A crisp slap sound made Yulongfei come back to his senses. The golden sword chi that filled the sky dissipated, revealing Lu Kuan's figure. His robe was already in tatters, and dozens of sword marks crisscrossed his incomparably sturdy muscles. Only a little bit of his flesh had been cut open. He put his palms together. His palms, which were not covered by the silver light membrane, were mixed with a suffocating brute force. Like an iron hoop, he firmly pressed the tip of the heavenly fault sword. The thick and broad sword was shaking violently. The extremely sharp light on the surface of the sword actually couldn't do anything to this pair of ordinary hands. The tip of the sword was only a foot away from Lu Kuan's head, but this distance was like a natural mode, unreachable. Yulongfei was dumbfounded, as if he could not believe his own divine sense. After the 100 golden sword chi broke the silver light membrane, it could not even touch the opponent's bones. This was simply unimaginable. How could the body of an immortal cultivator be so strong to such a realm? His eyes flashed with disbelief. The power of the nascent soul in his body surged. The heavenly fault sword shone brightly, and a golden sword chi shot out from the tip of the sword. Clang! The crisp sound of metal clashing reverberated. The sword chi directly blasted the space between Lu Kuan's eyebrows. However, at such a close distance, the powerful sword chi only pierced a small part of his scalp, revealing the dense skull inside. Then, it helplessly dissipated. Yulongfei's lips were dry. Could this be the strength of a body-refining immortal cultivator? Perhaps only some 9th-grade demonic beast that focused on defense could have such a defense. At this moment, Lu Kuan swung his hands and forcefully threw the heavenly fault sword back. He casually shook his body, and a majestic power of chi and blood soared into the sky. The wounds on his body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In 1 or 2 breaths, he was restored to his original state. Other than the tattered robe, it was as if he did not suffer any attack. Indestructible body. Yulongfei and De Gufeng sucked in a breath of cold air. With such a terrifying defensive power and the indestructible body, only an attack that far exceeded its defensive power could kill it in one go. Yulongfei looked at the heavenly fault sword in front of him and looked a little embarrassed. His series of attacks, just now, seemed like he was trying to kill his opponent. What should he do next? Should he join forces with De Gufeng and use his trump card to destroy the other party? Or should he shamelessly apologize? Lu Kuan looked at Yulongfei's flickering eyes and sneered in his heart. He had long expected that this person would find an opportunity to be ruthless. But so what? With the terrifying defense of the bone transformation stage, even a 9-stage thunder tribulation couldn't take his life, let alone a middle nascent soul stage sword cultivator. One of his goals in coming to the heavenly sword sect was to find Yu Longfei to spar and try out several ways to use his physical body's source strength. Yu Longfei was a middle nascent soul stage sword cultivator and was suitable for him to practice. At the heavenly sword peak, the vortex he used to block the golden sword chi was one of the ways he came up with to use source strength. Only the source strength field within 3 feet of his body could be completely controlled by him. Under careful control, it formed a unique force field vortex. In addition to the powerful suction force, the center of the vortex was filled with a terrifying stirring force. Any attack that was sucked in would be forcefully crushed by the vortex's brute force. This source strength vortex could be said to have changed the manifestation of the physical body's power. Not long ago, when facing the golden sword formed purely from sword chi, he gathered the source strength field on his palms, forming a dense force field layer. Through the high-speed vibration of his palms and force field, he transformed the terrifying power of 800,000 pounds into a vibration force and transmitted it out. If Yu Longfei hadn't transformed the golden sword into sword chi, the golden sword would have been shattered by him in a moment. This kind of vibration attack from the palms was different from the force field vortex. It transformed brute force into vibration force. With his physical body's source strength, the enormous power of his body could be transformed into various forms of unique attacks, making his fighting style more diverse. These 2 moves were just his own creation, and there was still a lot of room for improvement. If perfected to the extreme, each of them could become a unique ability. In other words, they could form a systematic system, a combat skill unique to body cultivators. Lu Kuan's mind flashed with all kinds of conjectures as he seemingly said casually, "After a simple exchange, Fellow Yu has also tested the strength of the body refinement art. I don't know if Fellow Yu has changed his mind about our previous bet. As long as Fellow Yu can severely injure Lu and make him lose the ability to fight, it'll be my loss." When Yu Longfei heard this, he squeezed out a smile and said, "I knew that Master Lu's physical defense was astonishing. When I tested it just now, it was indeed extraordinary. Such a powerful cultivation technique is definitely more valuable than my sex sword arts. I accept the bet." Lu Kuan smiled and said meaningfully, "That's right, Lu is proficient in the soul-locking secret technique. Soul-searching won't work." Yu Longfei was silent for a moment, then slowly said, "Master Lu, I'm going to make my move." Looking at the motionless Lu Kuan, he somewhat understood. The owner of the Body Refinement Pavilion wanted to display the defensive power of a great cultivator. In this way, even if he couldn't kill old Devil-Sure, he could still entangle him. When he thought of this, Yu Longfei no longer hesitated. The power of the nascent soul in his body quickly surged and his mouth muttered, as if he was activating some kind of secret technique. The enormous consciousness of a mid-nascent soul stage also trembled with a strange amplitude. The aimless sharp intent in the surroundings trembled slightly, as if it was attracted by something, and poured into Yu Longfei's body. The latter's face twisted, as if he was enduring great pain. At this moment, the heavenly fault sword floating in front of Yu Longfei suddenly cracked. Accompanied by the crisp sound of the sword, it split into 6 small bronze swords with astonishing spiritual light. Lu Kuan revealed a look of surprise. This broad and thick sword was actually the same as Qin Yushu's 5-feathered universe saber. It was a set of magic treasures. When the 6 pieces were mounted together, they would form a broad and thick sword. When they were separated, they would form a set of magic treasures. Yu Longfei's expression became more and more painful. Cold sweat appeared on his face. As he muttered the incantation, his hands rapidly formed a mysterious sword art. The small bronze swords in front of him trembled and split into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. The 6 small swords actually turned from tangible to intangible. In the blink of an eye, they split into 96 tiny sword threads. Each sword thread seemed to be formed by the compression of sword chi. They emitted a dazzling golden light, and a unique fluctuation spread out. Lu Kuan's expression changed. He suddenly felt that the dense heaven-earth essence qi in the Valley of Swords began to converge towards these sword threads. A faint halo gradually appeared outside the sword threads. A suffocating pressure spread out from these 96 sword threads. Du Gufeng, who was watching the battle, had no choice but to retreat a few hundred feet. In Lu Kuan's perception, this attack was not inferior to the power of the seventh lightning tribulation. It was a pure metal attribute attack, and the damage it caused to him was definitely much stronger than the lightning tribulation. No wonder Yu Longfei chose to stay in the Valley of Swords. He actually had a secret technique that could borrow the sharpness of the Valley of Swords. In addition to a powerful set of magic treasures, he was able to display the power of a grand cultivator. The power of the nascent soul in Yu Longfei's body was being consumed rapidly. He formed a sword with his fingers, and the terrifying sword threads that filled the sky turned into a dense sword rain that shot towards Lu Kuan's body. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lu Kuan did not show the slightest trace of fear. Instead, a trace of madness flashed through his eyes. He clenched his fists and raised them above his head. The 3 feet of source force field around him began to distort crazily. This invisible force field revolved around his body, forming a huge vortex outside his body. An incomparably powerful suction force was emitted. The 96 sword threads that were originally attacking Lu Kuan's body were twisted by this strange suction force, forcibly changing the direction of their attack. Like a golden whirlwind, they revolved around Lu Kuan's body. At the same time, Lu Kuan's fist was wrapped in a layer of silver light, and an arc-shaped force field appeared around his fist. If the force field outside his body was a huge vortex, then his fist was the core of this vortex. The whirlwind formed by the golden sword threads quickly surged towards his fists under the huge suction force. For a moment, the golden light was incomparably dazzling. Lu Kuan's expression was ferocious. In order to control such a complicated source force field, the demonic energy in his body was circulated to the extreme. The light of the bone treasures could no longer be suppressed. The light of the 206 matured treasures soared into the sky, emitting an astonishing pressure. His figure flashed, and his fist shot forward with the golden whirlwind. Yu Longfei's face was incomparably pale. He could not imagine that Lu Kuan could not only block the attack of a great cultivator, but also counterattack. Not to mention the terrifying pressure of the golden fists, the aura of the 200 treasures that covered the sky and covered the earth scared him silly. He was currently in the weakened state of casting techniques. In the face of Lu Kuan's astonishing speed, he barely managed to summon a dark golden shield in front of him. Then, the pair of golden whirlwind fists collided with it. The spiritual light of this defensive spiritual treasure was almost instantly shattered, and it was easily sent flying. Yu Longfei revealed a look of despair. But at this moment, the golden whirlwind fists trembled slightly and changed direction, brushing past Yu Longfei. But even the remaining power of the fists almost shattered his magic power shield, and fiercely sent Yu Longfei flying. Asterisk boom. Asterisk, a terrifying earth-shattering sound was heard. The entire valley seemed to be about to collapse, and the earth quaked and the mountains shook. A huge pit of more than 500 feet appeared on the hard ground that had been tempered by the sharp intent for many years. A large amount of dense, cloud-like spiritual qi, with the pit as the core, turned into terrifying waves that spread out in all directions. They collided with the restrictions at the edge, and a huge rumbling echo was heard. The dust dispersed, and Lu Kuan's body appeared in the pit. At this time, his body was covered with sword wounds, and almost all of them were deep to the bone. His hands were also pale white. 6 small bronze swords were stabbed into the ground in a crooked manner, and the spiritual light was incomparably dim. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.